Hello, all. There we go. Hope you're doing well. Come on. Sorry, just messing something here. Yeah, hope you're doing well. We are going to do the Reverie Roundtable in just a second. Let's get ourselves in order. Been in.
Not even.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, you can, certain things can be verified by video in on the ground, you know, developing situations. But the thing that can't necessarily be verified is context and scope, right? So it's like, and I think the media, you know, like, you don't know to what degree something is representative of the whole, just because you have individual anecdotal video of a thing, and then you don't necessarily know the context in a thing, right? So, like, you know, I watched some chick on Hassan's show, right, or on Twitter, and he, like, from his stream where he was like, I was shot in the arm because you know, because they targeted me and my comrade told me, you know, to watch out, and then my arm's broken or fractured or something, I don't know, and it's like, okay, well, what's the actual content? Like, was she doing that? Is that just a lie? Like, where's the other video? You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, you know, was she crazy and, like, running up to people, or are they targeting people? Like, you don't, like, the context is missing. And then, of course, the scope is missing. Like, to what degree is that representative of what's happening everywhere? And then to what degree isn't it, right? Like, I think we heard so much with BLM, you know, like, and we're hearing it again with, like, mostly peaceful protests, whatever. Right? It's like such a hilarious thing. It's like, okay,
That's pretty funny.
Right. Well, it's like, technically that's true. You know what I mean? Like, but that's true of every riot, right? That's true of every protest, right? And so it's like, it wasn't until much later that we got a mostly full accounting of the damage to know that hundreds of millions of dollars of property
20 billion
been damaged.
That's the number. 20 billion.
Let's hold on.
It depends on how you count it, but sure.
Let's hold on to this for the actual topic, please.
Yeah, we can do that. Don't worry.
I did see that video of that Australian woman getting shot. That didn't seem to be.
Let's hold on for it.
Hold on. We went away from what I was talking about.
I actually had a Border Patrol outfit I was going to give Garfield today. I thought it would be very appropriate if we gave him an ICE uniform before we brought him on.
God damn it.
I've got a question.
Hold on 1 second, boys.
And then I was going to have my other cat with the Mexican flag. I thought that'd be pretty funny.
So,
but I was told that'd be insensitive.
You took issue with my conversation with Wick, apparently? Or at least that's sort of...
Are you talking about the video?
Yeah, well, I spoke to him about that video.
Yeah, I was losing my shit in the chat. Did you see that?
No, but someone came in afterwards. Wick brought in a third person, and they mentioned you of you wrongly disagreeing with me.
Yeah, just give me a moment while I get set up, and then we'll I'll take some issues with some of the things you said.
Take some. Okay. Fair enough.
While we're waiting on Lactoid, you know, he's channeling his food with being so late. Corey. And I guess
under 5 minutes.
Under 5. Is that what you're gonna tell your boss, huh? I was under 5 minutes late, right? Oh God, the important.
That's what he tells the judge. Only late by 5 minutes.
That was no wonder 5 minutes.
I like that would be horrible to tell a judge. Like, when I worked at a law firm, I remember this one guy didn't show up to a place on time, by I don't know, 2 minutes, and it was the one time the judge was, like, actually ahead of schedule, and he got reamed so hard, and then the legal assistant that, like, fucked up, like, the timing was immediately fired. Like, it was just, you're done, like, no question.
Yeah, and that's
never forgot that.
I think we should have a level of leeway, but whatever. Hold on, before we get into that, Corey, I think you'll be happy, maybe Gibbs too. You'll be happy to know that finally I've watched Captain America: Brave New World.
Oh yeah,
yeah, because it came out on Disney Plus. Like I said, I have to wait till they come out.
What do you think of Japan being the big bad?
Japan?
No, you can't do spoilers. You can't do spoilers, right?
Everyone in the audience. So now, but Japan, how is Japan the big bad?
Well, I mean, I guess they were poised against, like, the American-led order in that one. So, like, it was like the not so big bad versus, you know, the not so good.
They were never
good.
the enemy. I mean, like they were another party.
Well, that's an interesting take we could dive into right there. Like, who was the good guy in Captain America: Brave New World?
Captain America.
Yeah, Captain America.
Real shot in the dark there.
Captain America was the good guy. You know, he was trying to promote American interests abroad, as he should.
Well, I mean, yeah, sure. Okay, and so was the president. Like, when these types of movies happen, like I have to like turn my like anti-imperialist brain off, you know, like to enjoy a movie. Honestly, I'll just have to like ignore all these parts and like, oh, this is not how America acts at all. But beyond that, I have one complaint about the movie, but overall, and I'll share it with you in a second. Overall, I thought it was a solid movie, right? I don't think it was perfect, but I thought it was a solid movie. Great action scenes. It's the logic of the movie more or less made sense, you know. There's stuff that
it could have been better though.
Like, oh yeah, no, I'm not saying it's not. It's perfect, but
my
like, I think it's a solid B plus.
I would probably rate it like B somewhere in the B, C,
Okay.
B minus, the B plus range. I would agree with that assessment. I do have my one big complaint is maybe it's just because I'm a big Seth Rollins fan, but the fact that apparently they cut a lot of scenes with the Serpent Society, and then what's his name came in and only filmed like his scenes, like after they'd already filmed a lot of stuff, and so apparently a lot of the stuff with like Seth Rollins is left on the floor, and we were gonna get a whole bunch of Serpent Society, but it was gonna lead into a Serpent Society TV show apparently. But apparently they cut all of this, and it's like no longer in the works, according to what Seth Rollins is saying. Which I get, and then so I guess the WWE gave him a big storyline instead. But I'm a little disappointed because I think he would have been perfect for whichever snake he was supposed to play. He would have been perfect. For that role.
Marvel did announce a Serpent Society. I had seen like the announcement thing. They did announce a Serpent Society property. I don't know if it was a show or a movie. But in any case. And so yeah, they did seem to pull back on that, and I think like was it Luis Esposito or something like that? I forget exactly.
Juan Carlo.
He's a great actor.
Excuse me. Yeah, he's amazing. No, he's amazing. I love him, but like I think he was wasted here. Like.
Yeah, he was like inserted in or something.
Yeah, look at
he
Captain
didn't really fit
America
his last Disney thing either. Like when they put him, like I enjoyed him as the big, like a bad guy for like in the Mandalorian. But like when you compare him to the bad guy for the first season, the client, which was Werner Herzog's character, like when Werner Herzog, which the director, he gives that play that guy or whatever, but he gives that speech at the end of that first season where he's like safety, security, economic prosperity. What metric? Like this is something I can see an actual guy giving, and the guy then he like turns like and like looks at the camera and then looks at you and say, "I like to see the baby." Like, holy shit, this guy's terrifying. And then to have like Juan Carlo Esposito come in, I'm like, okay, this is a big bad I can believe. And he just kind of was like goofy as the big bad, and I was like in the Mandalorian, I'm just like, man, I really would like to see him as like more. They didn't give him enough power. I don't think they didn't give like.
I disagree with you on this one. I thought he was great in that one, and I didn't think he didn't reach me as goofy in the Mandalorian at all. But I mean, I respect your opinion on this. You know, I respect you guys' different opinion. I just I thought he was in that one he was better, especially contrasted to this. I mean, like it just seems like he like they gave him like a fight scene, and it was just like, well, Captain America can barely fight this old man, and I don't know. It was just like. It's kind of pointless. It's kind of pointless.
I agree.
And I think an actual Serpent Society thing would have been more interesting. I don't know much about the Serpent Society. I'm not like big into that level of the Captain America lore. But that would have just been like better. Like they just like threw a name. Like, okay, let's pull out of our IP bag, right? What do we have here? Oh, I guess it's the Serpent Society. So we'll plaster that on like the group. But it could have just been like generic terrorist group A, right? Has stolen the MacGuffin, right? And you got to beat them up. And that's as much as it had to do with that. So like it was completely pointless there. Like they should have really just changed the name to anything else, and it would have been better. You know, or not even have that group. That could like it was more of a distraction. Like there could have been more on like the leader, which is the name that it used in the within the context of the movie. The leader is the name of the.
Yeah, he's another one that seems a little underutilized. I think with that one is like he is like a major big bad.
I agree. Yeah.
But like now, I think what people have been saying is that now we're realizing that the leader actually has been one of these overarching big bads that's been affecting the thing since the Slovakia Accords, because he was the one behind that. Because they show the timetable in I think one of the scenes when he was caught and like captured or whatever, which is the first Hulk movie. And so they're saying that now, what is the Thunderbolt Ross had been going to him the whole time. So everything that happened, like with the Slovakia Accords and everything, is directly tied to the leader, and so they could like retcon him in as like a big bad that's been like lurking kind of thing. But it felt a little wasted.
If they were trying to do that, then they didn't like impress
fail.
upon the audience that
Yeah, you shouldn't have to discover that.
Yeah. I think if they really wanted us to feel that way, then they would have like made it like abundantly clear. But it doesn't matter anyway, Trey, because he was like not memorable. Like he was like, oh, I can tell all the probabilities, but then like he was wrong most of the time any which way. So okay, whatever, right? Like we didn't really get to see like how incredibly smart he was. He just like made some like wild ass statements that like on 2 occasions was correct. And then you're like, okay, I guess he's smart. I don't know. And then he bioengineered the president. No, so here's my big issue with him. Overall, again, I think it was fine. Like the things we're saying now, I think are notable, right? Which definitely keeps it from being an A, right? And the thing I'm going to say doesn't necessarily affect its grade, especially with general audiences, right? But like it's a problem for me. There is literally no point in putting the Red Hulk in if you aren't going to like have a Red Hulk fight. Like if people understand, right? Like, hey, the for Green Hulk, the madder he gets, the stronger he gets, right? For the Red Hulk, it's the madder he gets, the hotter he gets. He has a different power set. You could see that they like referenced it slightly because like when he's like transforming, you can see his suit start to burn off, right?
Yeah.
You see like heat waves coming off of him, but it plays no part in the fight, like not one bit. But like that's his thing. He is temperature raising, and so like he's strong, but like not like Hulk strong for those reasons, right? It's a different type of fight. So like there's a lot you could do with that, right? To make it difficult for Captain America to fight him. None of that was messed with. So like, it might as well it was like literally a recolored Hulk. Like literally that's all it was, and I didn't like that.
I'll tell you one other problem with the Red Hulk going forward. Like, all right, so Harrison Ford is one of my favorite actors of all time, right? However, the guy is damn near ain't like dead. He's like 1,000 years old, right?
Well,
like
I think he's 83, 82.
Yeah, he's 83. How many?
He's old, but he's
old, bro.
Almost
like
1,000.
Almost 1,000. This guy's ancient. Like now, I love Harrison Ford. How many movies are we going to get as Harrison Ford as the Red Hulk now going forward? And the Red Hulk, especially as Thunderbolt Ross, is somebody that's going to keep going. Yeah, we're going to get no more. Like it's like you've locked him up, and this is going to be a character that makes a couple cameos over the years, and is just going to be gone again. And Thunderbolt Ross is like a major player, like in pretty much all these storylines they got going on coming forward, and especially when it looks like they're going to be going with the what is it? The Nazi, the Hydra thing with the Hydra fucking Captain America coming up in the first half of the whatever Avengers movie is what it looks like they're talking about doing.
They could just CGI him in moving forward, like. Technology's there now. Like,
yeah, but like I mean, like I don't know. You're gonna have I guess they could like Tarkin him in, but like you're gonna have like a CGI Harrison Ford. Like, why aren't you gonna like? Why didn't we just do that with the original actor then at that point? Like, I mean, we could like.
by the director.
So we're
going in at some point, like
yeah, I mean, like at that point, they might as well just made it Peter Cushing because they already have the rights to him, and they could just use him to play Thunderbolt Ross in perpetuity. At that point, I don't know why they like. I mean, I don't know. I mean, how far? Honestly, that's a good question. How far are we from fully AI fucking characters?
That VO3 shit from Google is insane. So if that's any indicator,
I've been watching all these. Yeah, I've been watching all these Stormtrooper like fan movies they're making with AI now, and some of them are like cinema quality. I'm like, holy shit! Like this is crazy
really
stuff.
Good,
like,
yeah. Actually, stitching together those scenes can be very difficult to like get like the full, like from point A to point B to point C, right? That can be more work than you think. But when you do get it to work, it's like I mean, it will fool you. Now, it's like it's to the point where we can't just like make fun of grandpa, right, for not understanding this like image is AI. It's like it's gonna be really tough, and I think the public hasn't dealt with the full ramifications of this technology until like, and I've said this before. I said this like years ago. That like until we have an incident happen, right? Like maybe a significant part of the public is fooled by misinformation, something that otherwise there's no way they would have been able to tell, but they fall for it, and it causes some sort of disaster. Then we're going to deal with it, right? But blood basically has to spill before that happens. It's unfortunate.
I think something that's really interesting is like with each successive generation, it appears that the incoming generations and like millennials, right, compared to previous generations, are less and less capable of like critical thinking or rational thinking, and less capable of reading or being literate, but also like more and more capable of recognizing fake content, recognizing AI content, recognizing when like a TikTok is like an ad for a product, even though it's sold like it isn't an ad. Like I like it's I don't even know that like if you show really good AI or really like well thought out ads where it's like a story about some woman's life. I saw one recently about like her husband, and it was literally obviously just an ad for like sex candy that they eat, like spicy chocolate or something.
God.
Right? But it was a 3-minute story, and she only mentioned the product twice. And in the story, it's about like, her being cheated on and like all this other stuff, and how her ex was controlling, right? And so like it almost got me. I was like, because I heard it popped up the first time. I was like, why the fuck did she bring that up? That's so weird. And then she brought it up a second time. I was like, I just watched a 3-minute fucking ad for some sex candy bullshit. What the fuck? You almost got me, right? And it's like, I'm pretty sure that if I showed that to my little sister who's Gen Z, right, like she would immediately be like, why are you showing me this dumb ad? But like at the same time, if I show people from Gen Z, like if like they can't read third person omniscient, they can't. They literally cannot read. Like they cannot fathom complicated concepts like regular ass fantasy literature written 20 years ago because of like the way media and literature has been shaped to their mind, that like it's foreign to them. The same way that I think AI,
I'm not sure about that part.
They hate it and they don't get it and they don't connect with it. I'm not saying they're incapable of it, but like they just can't connect with it. And I think it's the media landscape changes so that Gen Z is able to see certain things.
I think I disagree with that statement. I think, all right, so I'm trying to come to terms.
Well, to be fair, most Gen Z can't fucking read. Let's be honest.
Well, hold on. So I'm trying to come to terms with this situation, right? Like, so I've been trying to educate myself on like the literature, like the literature crisis, the literacy crisis, I should say. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And what people have been saying. So, like, in general, I am quite skeptical when I hear like this next generation is in trouble because, right? That's like what we usually hear. Like each generation, like the cries, like how the next generation is in some awful crisis and things will never be the same and it's the end of society, right? So like I'm very skeptical of this. However, I'm trying to take this literacy thing seriously, and what it seems like is the problem is less that like media has changed. At least from what I'm hearing, from what teachers are saying, is that like with the advent of generative AI, a lot of kids, and with the interruption of COVID, that's also an important part. But like with
they're not thinking.
Generative AI, they are summarizing text, and they are having trouble like going through and picking out like the important parts of like a text, especially like a long novel. Some people, lots of kids, according to teachers, right? And I actually have a few articles on this. And maybe we should make this
I was trying to hold on. I was trying to be descriptive, not prescriptive, and like I delved into the prescriptive a little bit too much. But like what I'm mostly saying, let's get a social media landscape. Let's put that away, right? Okay. There's a million things we could talk about. Like we could talk about the fact that people don't read in school anymore. They read excerpts. They don't actually read whole books. Yeah, like they stopped reading. They stopped demanding any level of like thought from kids, and they're just like, regurgitate the talking points from the textbook. Like there's a billion reasons we can go into it. All I'm saying is that we are we are getting to a point where each successive generation seems less capable, or at least millennials and especially Gen Z and potentially Gen Alpha. It's hard to tell yet, right? Like the ship might be righted at some point, but that they're less literate, and at the same time, they're way more adept at being able to see through AI, or even be able to vibe out like when something's not right. Because you show like the most basic AI to boomers, and like they're like, oh my god, those poor kittens in the road.
Yeah.
And it's like we can look at it and be like, this is so obviously AI, and they're like, it's not real, but
Shrimp
it pictures.
Jesus.
And it's like what is, it's like you make $250,000 a year at a large corporation, and you can't tell that these cats in the middle of a stormy weather with a car that looks like a cartoon, and the license plate is in half English and half Cyrillic, isn't fucking real, and the cat has 7 legs, one of them. Like, you can't tell this is fake, and they're like, oh, I didn't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting though is like along with that, it's like I think it's two-pronged, right? Like there's what you described with the AI, right? And then there's like this idea that like these that I see all the time where people like can't like digest content that's not like that's longer than 3 minutes or a minute, right? And they'll tell you stuff like as if it's fact. And they're like, oh, and then you argue with them, and they're like, oh, no, prove it. So then I'm like, okay, well, here's an article that proves you're wrong, or here's an article explaining why this is misleading, and there's, XYZ factor, or like, hey, okay, well, here's one side, here's the other side, here's like maybe like the middle ground, right? And they'll be like, well, this video says, and I'm like, well, what's that video from? And it's like John Jameson's TikTok. You're like, okay, why are you? Well, I trust what John Jameson's saying, and you're like, okay, why have you chosen to trust him? Well, I like his takes on food. And you're just like, okay, I'm not sitting here.
I mean,
appealing to
it's blackpilling, but a third of people are below 85 IQ. Dude.
Yeah, but hold on, I get that, but like I don't know. There
like
was
a third of all Americans are like
but
10 years
like,
ago we would
okay,
define them as mentally retarded.
I'm not saying that like, hey, TV, at least with TV, they would sit down and talk about the issue or whatever, et cetera, compared to now. But at least with like television, they'd be like, oh, this is whatever. Here's the opposing side. Sometimes, most of the time, even like if it was a biased news story. Now it's like, here's one side. It's fact. Like, there's no more like discussion. And then when you like challenge them on it, there's no challenging because John Jameson says it. I trust John Jameson. Who are you to tell just me, John Jameson? I was like, well, I got a degree in XYZ and I did this and this and this. And they're like, well, you don't have 1 million followers, so your opinion don't matter.
There's a really cool documentary on Buckley v. Vidal, and that really is the beginning of it all. And I can't remember the exact name of it. Maybe someone in chat will remind me. But it's a great look at like a historical, like looking back at like how things changed, because CBS basically could not get enough of the coverage, and they were like in danger of losing like going out of business essentially, because they couldn't compete with other news organizations. And William F. Buckley, who's the father of neoconservatism, like the guy, he started the National Review, like the neocon movement basically begins with him. And they started doing like these series of like debates, and like they started getting a little bit more heated than like, your typical news debates. And at one point in time, Vidal calls him a crypto fascist, and he loses it because, he literally fought Nazis. And he loses it and curses on live television about, sure, right? But in that moment, it was triggering to him, right? To be called a fucking fascist when you fought fascists. Right? And he lost it, and he cursed on television and everything. And to the day of his death, he said that was the worst mistake he ever made in his entire life, was cursing and just getting a little mad in a debate, because that was the beginning of like, oh, we need to have this fiery back and forth entertainment of tribalism in politics on TV and in media. It all really began with Buckley v. Vidal.
It would have been. It would have happened any which way.
For sure. But like to him, he thought that was like a big catalyst, and he was, with him being like the guy that was the neoconservative movement, and having so much respect and clout. And he went on to do like Crossfire. Or right, like in so many of those famous interview debates and things, like what we do here, that's where the roots of that began. right? Like we owe, if you're a political streamer, you owe your history to like William F. Buckley in a way, and the kind of the programming that he did, and the change in the media landscape.
I pray to him at my altar every day, actually. So I hear you.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, great, William F. Buckley! Can we please bring some more bombs for the military-industrial complex? We must fight communism with Lockheed Martin.
So. Gibbs, are you talking to us or your audience? To your audience? If you're talking
Yeah,
to
I was saying, yeah, probably just tell them it goes back to Socrates. There's Donald. That's what we can thank the fiery rhetoric today, when they're committing suicide at panels right there. Nothing is more fiery than that, bro. What are you talking about?
I mean, he didn't, but okay. I get the joke.
Socrates was forced suicide.
Well, yeah, exactly. How base
it
is
was
that?
not really.
A loser gets suicided at the panel.
Okay.
Not really. Like
Sure.
It was literally a punishment that they knew wouldn't be enacted if he just left Athens, but he chose to commit suicide to make a martyr of himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Listen,
His
this
hate
sounds
friends
like
offered him-
framing. Sounds like framing. I like my framing better.
Well, it was basically banishment, and if you don't accept the banishment, then you're gonna have to drink poison, essentially. And he was like, "Fuck you, I'll drink the poison."
What he should have done is drank a bunch of poison all month and like got his body used to it, and then gone and drank the poison.
Or done like a Napoleon thing where you drank so much poison that you vomited up, and then you're like, "I'm immune to poison."
Is actually doing that right now. He drinks little bits of poison.
No, well,
That is alcohol. Is a
There's that guy. There's that guy that was
that's true.
He's the universal anti-venom now.
I'm eating really spicy Pringles. But I wanted to say, I was watching a show called something about you're out in the middle of the woods and you gotta like survive. The fuck is it? Not Lost.
Survivor?
Survivor.
Not that
Naked
one.
and Afraid. Naked and Afraid.
100 of those.
Were they
Yeah.
naked?
Okay. Well, all right. It's one of
Man,
these
Man
shows.
versus Wild or something?
No. Okay.
Okay.
There are a lot.
So it's a
of these
nature
shows.
show.
This is great optics for your memory. Actually.
Yeah. No, for sure. I can never.
Is it called? Is it called Los Angeles Today?
No. Oh, nice.
Surviving out in the wilds, yeah.
Anyway, you basically get like dropped off in the middle of nowhere, and you gotta like it's like something like Alone. The show
Naked
might be
and
called
Afraid?
Alone. No, it might be
Oh,
literally
I think it was,
called.
literally,
Oh,
like it's one singular person, and they have
Yeah.
to
I think it might quite literally just.
I
be
think
called
you are
Alone.
correct, and it's gonna be pretty sad
Yeah.
if I remember that better than you do. But whatever.
Well, I said it first. So you had this like basically everybody's alone, but they have like a bunch of different contestants at different areas in this giant wilderness, and they got to like survive. And there was like 10 of them, and there was one guy who was like from Mexico, and he grew up drinking the water there, and he was the only one who like didn't get horrible intestinal parasites and had to like get flown out because he was also the only one who didn't boil the water. Everyone else was boiling the water. He was just drinking the water straight from the river, and he's the only one who didn't get like the parasites and sick from the water, and he won. He won.
There was a-
Oh, like,
did get
he already had the
parasites.
parasites in
Yeah,
there.
Yeah. He was just used to it. Yeah.
Well,
there was a
there is something
Survivor
to what you're
episode,
saying, Gibbs.
There's a Survivor.
I've
episode
never
where this guy
seen
did
a
that.
television show prove that somebody needs ivermectin more than what you just described.
No, you say that they had this Survivor episode that's like this. There was a 60-year-old. I think he was 64, and he was a former Navy SEAL, like Special Forces guy or something like that, right? And everybody's dying. They can't get the fire going, so they can't boil it. And they keeps coming back like, "How are you hunting stuff? And how are you like doing stuff? How are you fine?" He's like, "Oh, I've been drinking the water over there." You're like, "Oh, it's still water." Stuff. He's like, "No, it's moving." And they're like, "Bro, there's like all sorts of stuff." And he's like, "Watch, it's totally fine." And they're like, so like two other people do it, and they had to get like Halo flight it off the show because they had like got caught like dysentery like immediately. They're like, "How are you doing this?" Well, I was a Navy SEAL and
'Cause
all
I'm
these things.
built different.
Yeah, he basically told me he was built different. So they immediately voted him out the next fucking round. They're like, "We're not gonna be able to beat this guy."
He's the only no water for anyone, I guess.
Yeah.
Um,
I saw they made that thing that's going to turn all salt, like it turn any salt water into drinkable water in like 5 seconds now. That you got that new filter they're talking about. They say it's going to end the world water crisis.
I don't know.
They come out.
They
come out
use
with
water
new
filter,
product.
I'm
Really?
sure they'll say that to their investors.
Sailors,
Certainly.
Yeah, they have like live straw. There's all sorts of different like survivalist things that they sell people like me. But I wanted to ask Corey something real quick because he brought it up earlier, but then I had to like fix some stuff, so I never really got back to it. Could you remind me what your position was exactly again? Because when I was watching you I think you finally got to the point where you were like, yeah, she's pretty awful, but like there was more to it. So go ahead and describe a little bit more what I'm talking about and what your position is.
Sure. She was pretty awful. I agree, not a good partner. But at the end of the day, okay, she has no obligation.
Could you roll it
Who the
back
fuck is
so
she?
other people can understand?
Okay, yeah, okay. So
Your mom. No, go ahead.
that's fine. You can use her as an example. I don't care. But okay, so there was this clip going around on social media of a TV show. Okay,
It's called Girls. The show's called Girls.
Oh,
Of a couple.
yeah.
Whatever. Man and woman. Adam Driver happens to be whatever the partner. Not that matters, but okay, whatever.
Oh no, hold on.
They're having whatever conversation on the
God.
couch. I'm like, Adam Driver's looks like he's trying to initiate some sexual relations. And she says, no, can't have it because I just had an abortion. And that's news to him. And then he asked, well, was it mine? And she said, yes. And then he freaked out and got, I would say, very angry.
And she was very nonchalant about the whole experience.
She was nonchalant. And then they went back and forth, and he said that, oh, these are things that you're supposed to consult each other on, and that you are evil for not telling me. And then she said, well, yeah, you don't understand why I didn't tell you. That's, in a nutshell, more or less what transpired. And
She was smug and dismissive more than nonchalant.
In addition to
right?
his
like,
anger,
she was just why would you even care?
He was breaking things. He like cleared a whole table, and I think that's. But and it was, I think, around like a 7-week relationship. Okay, and so my position is at the end of the day, she had no obligation to tell him whatsoever, and I did not view it as a moral transgression. Wick, I believe, did, although I don't want to mischaracterize the position, but that's the impression that I got of like.
I know he does, and I agree with him.
And he as far as I can tell, my understanding is like Wick understood that level of anger to the point of like throwing things off the table.
Pretty much pretty reasonable crash out.
We're 30 minutes in, and I get the yell, "Women ain't shit." That's what I'm talking about. We're only 30 minutes in.
I staunchly disagree. Both disagree with having that level of anger, or at the very least not expressing it that way. You can be however angry that you want. But yes, you should not ever be throwing things or punching a wall, unless you want to act like a toddler. That's totally fine. And then also, yes, at the end of the day, not a moral transgression in my mind, and she had no obligation to tell him whatsoever.
He's trifling hose, bro.
Since Wick even agreed with me in terms of, at the end of the day, it is her choice. And so if it's not going to affect the outcome, then it's like, well, why?
I mean, I guess it's okay for all guys to make sure they take women out on horseback riding after they have sex with them too. I guess that's what we're gonna have to instigate from now on.
That's supposed to cause abortions?
Can you elaborate?
Is that what that means?
Yeah, it causes abortions. Yeah.
All right. But like just
that would
after
be
having
the
sex,
exact
I don't know if
opposite
that's
of
true.
what he was upset about. Like, what?
No, we're gonna make it even.
Wait, hold on. I thought the horseback riding that had to do with like, the what's it called? The skin, like popping
the hymen.
The hymen.
Repeated jolts.
No.
Repeated jolts.
I don't think
horseback riding isn't like a fucking. Horseback riding can't. Horseback riding can tear the hymen. That's
yeah,
true.
that part.
But I'm highly confident that I'm sure it can happen, but I think on average it's highly unlikely that horseback riding is going to induce an abortion.
I would agree with Corey on that point.
This woman,
unless that horseback riding involves
after you had sex with them. Though,
yeah,
but just after, I'm not sure it has any effect at all.
Man, this woman has now justified sneaking Plan B into all the milkshakes you give them. That is what this woman is now justifying.
Oh my god!
You're welcome. That is the legal precedent going
Gibbs,
forward.
what are you going on about? Like,
Dude, he's just saying random shit. Like Plan B is a spermicide. It's not.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying.
He's saying if they don't have to tell you about the abortion, you don't have to tell them about the abortion either.
You don't have to tell them. Hold on. You don't have to tell them about drugging them. That's the comparison.
It's the same thing.
No, it's
you're
not
both you're both taking proactive steps.
I don't think lactose would give you that.
It's an abortion in secret, right? It's an abortion in secret without the other person's consent. I don't know.
Exactly.
It seems 1-to-1 to me.
No, it's not 1-to-1. I saw that video and I got viscerally angry. Like watching that video made me at least 20% more sexist than I am. Like it was horrific, right?
More sexist.
200%.
I'm like, yeah.
No, 20% times 0 is still 0. Corey, relax.
It wasn't 0.
Lactoid is the greatest misandrist of all time.
Yeah, it wasn't 0, but no, for sure. Like it made me really, really upset. And I saw you, and you know, I'll give you I'll at least give you that you think that she's awful, okay? Because she is awful. In terms of like moral condemnation, though, let me ask you: do you think cheating has any kind of moral condemnation associated with it?
Yeah, assuming that you are in an agreed upon monogamous relationship. That is.
Yeah. What if it's not like
What the fuck?
explicitly agreed upon?
He just said cheating. Why do you get so weird like this sometimes?
Well, no.
What if you cheat?
No.
You cheat
We literally.
Shut up.
Wait. He asked me a question.
These are the ones we need to know.
Can you be quiet for a second, Gibbs? Okay.
I'm quiet.
Because
can't.
actually,
I'm the libertarian here, and I'm
had-
less of a problem about definitions than you are. Like,
No,
relax.
we had this
I'm just asking
conversation.
questions.
We had this conversation.
Well, assuming the cheating is cheating, then yes, cheating is bad.
No. Okay.
Molecules don't count. Molecules don't count.
Quiet. I'm going to steel man Wick's position, okay? Because we got to this point of like, let's say after the third date, okay, you have sex, okay. In Wick's mind, that means you're boyfriend and girlfriend. And I said no, unless you're actually having some sort of conversation. You should not assume that you are in a monogamous relationship with someone. And Wick,
That's right.
On the other side, and I think you're setting yourself up for a disaster. And no surprise that, like, yes.
Wait, so where was he wrong? Where was he wrong here?
You should never. I would say
you were 100% correct. Everything you just said right there.
Yeah,
you think? Hold on. You think that all these bitches that I fuck that I'm dating them? Well, that's crazy. I wouldn't date them if my life depended on it.
No, McGibbs. He's saying that.
That's what he's
agreeing
saying
with you.
Okay. So
Yeah,
if you listen for a second and stop talking, that you
I
might.
was agreeing
actually learn
with you.
something for
I
once.
was agreeing with you, Corey.
Sorry, he got lost in the fucking
I was
definition game.
asking-
I was agreeing with you, okay?
I was asking, what did you say that
It
was
just
wrong?
showed. It just showed in the way of an argument.
Hold on, you were just
well-
defensive, thinking I was coming at you. I was coming at
You've never
Lactoid.
agreed.
I was saying you were right.
Agreed with someone while arguing with them.
No, hold on. I'm not arguing with him at all. I was agreeing with him.
I'm still
He took
engaging
it
with
as me
Lactoid. I'm
disagreeing.
still engaging
I'm
with
asking-
Lactoid.
Okay,
I'm asking
let's
Lactoid why he
let
was wrong.
Corey actually get it out. Corey, please.
Okay, so unlike Wick, I don't think you should assume that even if you had sex on the first date, the third date, you should not just assume that you are in a monogamous relationship. Okay, and that's why I put in the caveat of assuming you've had some sort of conversation about actually being in a monogamous relationship. You shouldn't assume that you're just in one. And that's why I bring in yes, that is actual cheating to me. Of you
Assume she's hypergamous. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. super slut, absolutely. And so, yes, does that answer your question, Lactoid? In terms of in that context,
where was he wrong, Lactoid?
I view cheating as a moral transgression in that context.
A lot just happened, so just give me a second.
I understand.
Wait. You see no moral transgression with not telling your partner or your sexual partner that, hey, one of your spermies turned into a baby, right? I understand that it's in her body, but
that's what we're debating.
Not in
but cheating, there's a moral transgression there. What does moral transgression mean? Wait, real quick. What does moral transgression mean?
That's a good question, actually.
That is a good question. That is a totally fair question. Obviously, it's going to lead you to deeper conversation in terms of at least I bake in, harm and what is actual harm.
It.
Yeah. But I mean, that is a valid question. But yeah, you are actively harming a person, and that it does not necessarily include just hurting someone's feelings. And if you want to start qualifying what actual harm means, we can go down that road. I'm fine with that. But the reason why, and I had this conversation with Wick as well, in terms of if there was a prior discussion of hey, before we actually have sex, if I happen to get pregnant, I'm going to have an abortion, or I'm not going to tell you. Basically, if there's some sort of predetermined agreement, then yes, that, and she
obviously people don't have that discussion, right? People
had that conversation again with Wick of if you're not having that conversation, well then you reap what you sow, and you shouldn't just assume that your partner that you select is going to tell you of whether or not they get pregnant. And if they don't, like I said to Wick, if you have sex with someone and they don't tell you that you get pregnant, that's on you. You chose that person. And
let me ask you. Wait,
real quick. But in the context of the video, it wasn't that they didn't tell. It was just they told them they got an abortion, right? So they made it clear. She's like, hey, I got an abortion
after the fact.
Right? And so
even if they don't tell you that they're pregnant, that's on you. Okay, you selected that person.
Them not telling you they got pregnant wouldn't be an issue if they didn't then tell you that they got an abortion. And so what you're saying kind of in that regard is that the receiver of that information isn't entitled to a response or a moral judgment on the other person who they feel they were wronged by, right? That's the issue. The issue is that if she didn't say anything, no one would know that there is no harm caused. But she told him, and like you're kind of telling the person. Wait, I'm saying harm to the party who was ignorant of the fact, right? Like if I don't know you got an abortion, there's no harm done to you. But
there are some scary hypotheticals we can go down.
Yeah,
sure. I'm just saying that, like, in the context of this video, guys, like, but like, if she told him, and you're saying like the way it sounds like you're saying that this person's not allowed to have like a response to that information, and like. Well, that's what the people are talking about, right?
Let me clarify then, in terms of they can feel any type of way. They can be however angry they can be red in the face. But
they're justified for it.
But I would take issue of like how they express that. I take issue with the actions and behaviors. I don't care if they feel angry or sad or enraged or have a bloodlust. If they end up throwing things or like punching a wall, like I view that as more bad. But like yes, you can feel any type of way about it.
More bad than like punching the person?
That's worse than the lie. That's worse than well, you don't even think it's a lie, to be fair, right? You don't think it's a lie if she doesn't tell you that she got an abortion. I don't think that's a lie of omission unless they said that if I get pregnant, I will tell you. Then that's where the more transgression will come into play. Of like if they actually had a conversation beforehand of like before we have sex, if I get pregnant, this is what's going to happen. I'm either going to tell you or I'm not going to tell you. Something to that effect. It's on you. I think that's a weird standard, considering like I'd assume like 99% of people don't really have that.
I want to get Lectoid get in.
Overweight and obese. Like doesn't mean anything to me.
I'm gonna ask a clarifying question.
Yeah,
and then I'm gonna follow up with a.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So the very first clarifying question here. So when you say it, I think quote actually harming people, but not necessarily their feelings. Can you give me an example of like what is the differentiating factor when like a moral transgression involves harming somebody's feelings, and then when can you harm someone's feelings without it being a moral transgression?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure I have a concrete example offhand. Basically, I don't think in and of itself hurt feelings is enough to cause. I wouldn't call that. Yeah, I would not. I guess maybe.
I think it's probably better to define harm, to be honest,
as
opposed to hurt feelings.
Well,
right?
so
it's probably the differentiation.
Well, here, let me explain, right? So, and I was actually about to get into kind of where I see harm here, because I think harm is a multitude of different like avenues. We can go down that road, but here, so I think that she did morally transgress, like very viscerally. I feel like she morally transgressed, right? But I also agree with you that in of itself, like just hurting somebody's feelings isn't necessarily moral transgression. And so one of the comparisons when I look at this, I think about like cheating, right? If somebody, let's say you're in a relationship with somebody, I think 7 weeks of dating is enough. If 3 days is enough, I think there's some gray area there. But I think if you're like pretty exclusively dating somebody for 7 weeks, I think it's probably fair to assume that you're in some kind of relationship to the point where you can't just go screwing the whole town. Okay?
What?
We can disagree.
What?
Okay. Yeah, fucking Dionysus in the flesh aside down here, okay?
No, I'm disagreeing with him.
I know, Gibbs. Yeah, Gibbs is crazy. So,
hold on,
no, you're gonna wait a second, okay? Because you got a lot of shit to say. That's all of it's degenerate. Okay, I know. But specifically to Corey, like, what if instead the video of her saying, oh yeah, I had an abortion yesterday, she instead said oh yeah, like I can't do anything. I'm pretty sore from like the gangbang that I did yesterday with like 18 guys.
And girls.
And then then he's like, what? And she's like, yeah, I did a gangbang yesterday with like 18 guys.
Yeah, I wouldn't view that if
no moral transgression.
I wouldn't put that if they didn't have a conversation. No, I would not assume that you're in a relationship. That's on you for not establishing where you.
No. Here's where we disagree.
Quick question, Corey. If she did a gangbang, but she did not do proper testing of all 18 individuals for STDs before said gangbang,
you're crazy, by the way.
Wouldn't her lie of omission be a potential harm to the individual because
sure
he's
the women you hang out with
of understanding whether about getting chlamydia or something worse maybe chlamydia is not that high on the harm list.
Oh wait, so are you saying
whatever.
that her potential to pass it on to her other partner?
Did she say? Hold on, Gibbs. Did
We
she
didn't
say
hear a
something?
word.
We didn't hear
Yeah.
one
Like, so they
word
do
of
it.
that.
She said, she goes, hey, listen, exclusive, it would be like if you've been fucking for 2 years. Here in San Antonio, 7 weeks is like nothing. Like that'd be like
Gibbs.
bro, like
You're
that's
in
crazy.
San Antonio.
The women,
You're not
the women you're
exclusive.
with
I'm just
are
saying.
not a good. They're
This
not
is-
a good
this is-
metric.
hold on,
It's not
you
a
see-
good
you said the-
sample
This is the
size.
average San Antonian.
It's
all
a
right? This is
tainted
the average
sample
San
size.
Antonian.
Have her
And I don't
put it
mean tainted
on.
like
Have her put
offensively.
it on.
Okay.
Tainted sample
We can't hear her.
size
We
is a
can't
wild
hear her.
statement.
I don't know how else to put it, but you know I'm
Can't
right.
hear anything
okay.
now.
You,
Like,
you gotta have her put it on because we can't hear it. We can't hear it at all.
Oh yeah, just tell that again.
Yeah.
Just put them on.
Bro
Put it
thinks,
on.
bro thinks his headphone mic is a fucking condenser mic.
It was close enough, but like this, she basically just said the men are just as bad as the women here. Though it's like 7 weeks is nothing. 7 weeks is crazy. That's literally like a month and a half. I like don't even talk to some of these people for like in 2 week time. So you'll message them, you'll hook up. I won't talk to them for 2 weeks because I'll be working because I have jobs. Like what do you do? Like I'm not
He was
you're a
saying
lawyer.
consistent,
Hold on,
exclusive
I'm saying
dating, right?
consistent, exclusive dating for 7 weeks straight.
Cool. Yes. What are you calling dating even? Like I could just be like, hey, I just got off work. Why don't you come over? Like
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
fucking.
to be fair,
That's
to be
what
fair.
that's what we call fucking.
So, okay, cool. So then I go, hey, let's go out to eat, and then like we go back to the house and fuck. Is that a date? Like, okay,
Yeah,
what if we
that's a date.
go to
Guys,
the
guys,
bar?
guys.
Is that a date? Like
we were
this is
talking. Okay,
ridiculous.
so let's try to contextualize the relationship. So I didn't see this scene, right, because I dropped out of that show long before Girls, right? But like they were like 20 somethings, white people who were like have an apartment they shouldn't have, in the city they shouldn't be able to afford or whatever, right? So like they have free time on their hands to be dating. Like they have like a weird like close relationship even before then, right? So that's the context, right? It's not even strangers who started dating. There were like people who knew each other previously, then started dating, and had time to like get to know each other, right? So we'll move forward with that.
Okay. Now, I think, and I have one more question that I think would consistency test Corey, but I don't know if I can ask it because of TOS. Maybe
you can type it to me in Discord if you want, and I'll.
Did you say?
I
I'm
don't think it's that bad. So just clarifying question, just basically yes or no, and then I'll explain where I disagree with you. Should a passing trans person have to disclose to you that they're trans before they have sex with you?
No, I think that's on you to do that.
Okay. Okay.
I'll-
So, hold on, that
testing?
is no. Like, wait, what? Oh,
Blood? No,
no.
I'm
Okay,
asking the court to court you, like,
yeah. Okay, so here's where we disagree. I think that that honesty comes not only from like following explicit agreements, but it also comes from recognizing people's reasonable expectations and clarifying if they're mistaken. So, for example, I think that like in the cheating example where somebody had like a whole gangbang, I think it's a very reasonable expectation that should be understood, okay, amongst a sane society, that this person would have a problem with that, or might have a problem with that. Very reasonably and rationally, this person might have a problem with that. Very high likelihood, because the vast majority of people would. I think this is also the case when it comes to the trans person. I think this is also the case when it comes to STDs. I think this is also the case when it comes to a variety of things. That when you begin to, or even with stealthing, we're seeing, right? If the woman's under the expectation or under the impression that you're using a condom, let's say you like pretend to put it on, you never agree specifically that you're going to use a condom, but like you make it kind of look like you're putting one on, but you're actually not putting one on. This is still stealthing because you've created, even though not explicitly, you've created the expectation that you are going to use a condom when you're actually not going to use the condom, right? In this case, I actually think that, like, I don't know how you guys feel on like the level of this, but I think there absolutely is an expectation that, like, if you get somebody pregnant, they talk to you first before you do anything about it. Firstly, especially if if you know this person, you've been like, definitely after 7 weeks, I would say I would actually even go less than that.
Maybe not a one-night stand. Maybe not a one-night stand.
But I'm iffy on that, honestly. I think even a one-night stand. I agree that one-night stands like a little bit more difficult, but I would say at all. I would say if you get pregnant with somebody's kid, I think you have an obligation, a moral obligation, to have a conversation with them before you do anything about it, because it obviously incredibly affects their life what decision you choose to make legally, ethically, morally, in terms of their personal
and even
philosophy,
for their own education purposes,
all that shit,
for how to learn how to move forward, right? Like,
it's
I think
emotionally.
Yeah,
you're right.
I think what Lactoid's like trying to do is like, you should like, you either operate in good faith or you don't, right? And like, the assumption has to be that, like, hey, if I'm doing something that the average person would probably deem immoral, I should probably like
So-
relay that information, right?
Yeah,
Let's- let's-
one last sentence. To me, this video, like, it made me so upset to the point where I would rather a woman that I was dating like go through a gangbang of like 20 people
Oh my god.
than do this to me.
Not 22.
100%. 100%.
So let Corey respond, and then we'll go to Scott, and then I want to jump in as well.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think
please.
that says more about you, or I think that reveals information about you. But
I wouldn't like either. I wouldn't
Gross,
like
man.
either.
But I understand where you're coming from. But like, yeah, I brought this up before, actually, and you even alluded to it, Lactoid, in terms of the sample of people that are around Gibbs, of like, and specifically the sample of women that are around Gibbs. And you recognize that he's selecting for a certain type of woman, not to, I don't know who they are, okay? And like, yes, if you select someone, and that's on you, you don't do the appropriate vetting, and you select someone who you have sex with, who's not going to tell you that they got pregnant, that is on you, okay? And that is your selection bias. If you don't want to do any sort of...
Is it on a woman who goes into a domestic violence relationship?
Exactly what I was going to say. 100%.
And I would absolutely, yes, I have no problem saying that if you have a consistent pattern of getting into abusive relationships, that is on you, and your picker is up. I've had this conversation. We've had this...
Okay, what is your first time? The first time.
We're gonna... Even first time, that is on you. Almost certainly.
What if she goes? What if she goes to a sketchy party?
Well, you go. I don't go to sketchy party.
I'm not. No. I'm not saying you.
This just in: Corey Campbell doesn't party hard.
Yeah.
Oh,
what if she was? What if she was dressed slutty?
This is some real big brain takes
Like,
we got going on right here, boys.
it's weird, Corey. Like,
no. What do you mean? Like,
so I'm saying that, like,
that my
what if
position...
she? Like, you're saying that, like, at some point, like,
The people aren't vetting properly, even if it's the
you're
first
saying
time. The
that,
people should
like,
know how
it's
to
your
vet people.
fault because you didn't vet someone properly, right? Like,
wait,
like
no.
that's
You have, at the end of the day, you have a responsibility to yourself to look out for your own well-being. No one's going to do that for you.
sure, fair, right? But you also aren't have a right to not be abused, even if
You are
like,
not a victim.
Yeah, like
I'm not saying that. Like, where?
No. This guy is a victim. He was morally like aggressed upon.
I know who
Do I agree that like you should generally be careful and avoid psychopaths or domestic abusers or situations where you might get assaulted? Yeah, you do. You should avoid all those things. But if that happens to you, that doesn't mean that the other person's not a monster. The domestic violence dude, he's a fucking monster because you walked into his trap. This woman on this video, she's a monster.
Let's let Scott go.
A couple of things. First and foremost, I am an evictionist. I'm completely against the concept of abortion. I think abortion is murder, right? I think any woman that gets an abortion, it's perfectly acceptable to just say right to her, "You're an evil piece of shit. You're a murderer."
Okay.
Right? Like, no matter what, like, you're a murderer.
End the stream.
It doesn't matter how she breaks.
Else.
No, I'm just saying, no matter how she breaks the news, it's perfectly reasonable crash out to get pissed, get angry, maybe not destroy property. But if it's her property, I mean, she can't really argue that you not destroy her property, right? Like she can't argue that she's a murderer, right? Like, you could burn down her house. It wouldn't be anything morally unjustifiable about it. So long as you don't burn anybody else's property down in the house, only the murderer's property. Setting all of that aside, I do have some agreement with Admiral Gibbs, Corey Campbell here, right? And I think it's because I think Admiral Gibbs showcased something, right? Which is that there is a certain kind of blending together what Lactoid was talking about and Admiral Gibbs's choice of women, right? Is that there is a cultural context about what is presumed to be normal amongst people, right? When Jerry Springer first started, he was trying to do like a show that he thought was like interesting. And when he got into like the third season is when it all became like, that version of clickbait in the early 90s, right? And there was a woman on the show who her boyfriend found out after dating her for 8 months that before he met her, that she had had sex with up to 15 men. And this was, to the entire nation of America, comically and absurdly the most slut thing you could possibly do. The idea, like, basically everyone in America understood that if you were like in your early 20s and you kept from a man that you had sex with 15 men, that you might as well just be any prostitute. Like you're over extremely just a complete and utter whore and worth very little. And there was a debate about whether or not he should feel bad about her previous sexual partners. And it was kind of like the conversation we're having a little bit now about like, is it justified to keep that information? Does it really matter? Is it aggressive upon you?
Conversation.
It was the body count conversation, but 15 in your early 20s was comically high and absurd to the point it was ridiculous. And towards the end of Jerry Springer, they had a woman on that broke the world record of having the sex with the most men in a lifetime, and she had just surpassed 200. Meanwhile, today we have girls that are passing that in like the first 6 hours of a 24-hour challenge, right? And so I do think like Admiral Gibbs is like, you know, to the girls around him, it's like, dude, you know, we just have sex and spread STD and give AIDS and give HIV and do whatever the fuck we're doing to, you know, hundreds of dudes, and then
Not
maybe
exactly
after
what
2 years you'll
Just have
lock
hello
it down.
abortions and.
I mean,
okay,
statistically
that's not exactly
speaking,
what something's happening.
if they're
Go
just
ahead.
fucking dudes like every couple of days
my
in the week,
God.
they probably, you know, they got some problems unless they're using even with protection. But again, I do think that the cultural context has radically changed in the last 30 years. And so I do think a lot of us that are coming from more conservative backgrounds or from different cultures, maybe different neighborhoods, different communities, etc., have a certain expectation that like, yeah, we go on a couple dates. I'm assuming that like if we're having sex and we've been on like 4 or 5 dates, I'm assuming we're exclusive without having to say anything. And the general America, that used to be something we all obviously agreed to. And that is no longer the case. And so we now live in a hedonistic, destructive society where you do need to have these conversations because it's completely unsafe and at this point unreasonable to expect if you're dating some random girl you found that you're actually exclusive or that she's not actually having sex with these people or that she actually believes in the sacredity
Or
of
that
life.
she'll tell you that she's pregnant. That's on you.
No, hold on.
This is how assortative mating works. That's just
No, I don't. I see what you're saying, Scott. Yes, if we live in a society where like nobody gave a fuck about like STDs, then yeah, it obviously wouldn't have the same level of like significance. You could say the same thing when it comes to like SA or like other forms of like assault, or a lot of the harm associated there comes from like the cultural significance of having that event happen to you, and the trauma, like the cultural trauma and the sort of social trauma that comes with having an event like that happen to you. My argument, though, is that even in this new world of depravity that you've described, that I agree is happening to some extent, and I was not raised like conservative. Even then, even now, I cannot fathom like this being acceptable amongst most men. That like
no, you're taking you're taking the inverse. I agree with your argument. What I'm saying is you as the man having sex with a woman and not having those conversations, that you're not acting rationally in your own rational self.
Okay,
that you exist in a world where all of this shit is, and then like for you to be completely surprised and floored.
There's a
by
new
it
normal.
Is like
normal in the new normal.
Yeah, but I don't think this.
That's what they're saying.
I understand.
I'm saying the normal is evil, and I agree with you.
But I don't think this new normal is that evil. I disagree with you. I don't think this new normal, like it's. I don't think women in today's society are so like fucked up in the head where they can't fathom the idea that if they get pregnant, they should talk to the person who impregnated them if they've been together for at all, in my opinion, but at least 7 weeks. I think in the vast majority of men's opinions, right? To me, this is like.
But again,
so
I'm talking about the male
perspective
perspective in the position. I'm not talking about the female position. I agree that like she's not engaging in that she's lying to herself if she believes that no dude would like even care or that it's a nonchalant thing,
yes,
right?
But that's
like,
what makes her morally evil because she
no,
knows
I
that
agree.
a guy might have a problem with it. Yes.
I agree with you. I'm just talking about from the male perspective. If you're having if you're having sex casually with a girl and dating her, the idea that you're just like, well, obviously she's fucking, monogamous with me and she's not doing all this other crazy shit in this brave new world isn't necessarily true.
I want to
Scott, they're just going to normalize lying. They're just going to normalize lying then.
I want to jump in here, and then we'll go to our friend Gibbs. So now I've moved back and forth, right? Hearing you all talk. So I sort of agree with Scott. I think I agree with you guys all a little bit. Taking pieces
Gibbs
of you,
most,
right?
I'm sure.
That's the most.
Prime cuz.
He's actually moving to
famous
San
fence
Antonio
sitter.
next week.
Yeah, right.
Come on
But
down,
like,
Prime.
I like what Scott said at least the part that our society is a bit more fractured, maybe, right? On these things, on our sexual mores, right?
Yeah, just look at the data, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there's like 40% of Gen Z girls are essentially celibate within a year, in the same time that we have girls that are just out here railing every 9 on Tinder.
Okay, calm down. So like, I agree that there's like extremely conservative people, like Scott, right? And then there are people like me who are normal. I understand, but no, but I think what you're saying there, like, is something, right? Like, I think you have to understand what your deal breakers are, and then like negotiate those with the other person, which I think is what Corey was saying. I think that's kind of what he was trying to get to.
That's a good
That,
summary.
like,
That's a decent summary.
Yeah. So, if like Scott said, like, he has a problem, he wants his like sexual partners to have a quote unquote, hard quotes here, hard scare quotes, a reasonable number of sexual partners, right? If that's what he's looking for, well, then he should like bring that up, right? Like,
Exactly.
Yeah, like, I think it's fair to like say that, and I think it would be unfair if like once brought up that the other person lies to you about it, right? Like, hey, like, this is what I'm looking for in a relationship. Do you fulfill this, right? And then she's like, oh yeah, I only slept with 2 guys in my life. I promise.
What if lying becomes normal?
Well, no, I'm saying like we shouldn't lie though. I'm not trying to like advocate.
Why? Well, why? Well, hold on. If the lying becomes, because we lie, like we give each other white lies all the time. What if this is like? What if it becomes like normal just to lie about your body count?
Well,
Doesn't matter.
But I think it is normal for a lot of people to do so. But I'm saying that, like, when asked, no, I agree. Yeah. So, but I think it's when asked directly, right? Like, I think you as a partner, like, you have the right to want to screen a person in that way. They have. What do I think? I think they have the right.
Then the most moral action is to have sex with transgender people, because there will be no risk of abortion.
Oh my God! Please, hold on. Let me get this out.
The straightest thing you can do.
So what do I think? I think it would be maybe wrong to lie, but I also think it would be okay to withhold. Right. So let me draw that out for you. So like Lactoid, he wants a woman maximum 4 body count, right? And he says this, like, if she doesn't want to reveal her situation, that's fine, right? Like, hey, that's my personal information. But like, if she lied to you, then that's wrong. And if she doesn't reveal, then I think Lactoid is like, is more than within his rights to like end the relationship. Like, okay, like, you aren't revealing. I don't know what that means. I don't have any evidence one or the other, but it sounds like we might not be compatible if you can't share this critical information.
Well, I don't think it's just on me. I think it's also if another person has knowledge that there is a deal breaker that I have, or that I know, like, if something was the case that I would have a problem with it. No,
the person
the person you're dating with.
Okay.
So like for example, let's say that like I'm with a girl and I never ask her if she's trans, because that might not go well. But like I make a comment like, I don't think I could date a trans person. All right, and I say like,
are
oh,
you
I don't
trans? Fucking no.
Yeah.
Date over.
Okay, yeah. So like, but if
these
I,
Red Lobster biscuits are not fucking worth it, buddy.
if I said like, I don't know if I could date a trans person, if she is trans and at that point says nothing and then goes along with dating me, despite knowing that I wouldn't want to date her if I known that, she is being dishonest. She is being deceptive.
Sure, no, I would.
Wait. Do you think?
Okay, I hear what you're saying. Well,
wait, Lactoid. Can I qualify real quick? What if she doesn't? What if she doesn't tell you during the date? Right? You finish the date, nothing happens. There's no kiss. There's no nothing. But you end the date, and then she waits till after the date to tell you. Right? She goes, "Hey, just
it's more understandable." Yeah,
that's fair. That's like she's like maybe worried about like trans panic or something.
I just want to I'm qualifying for the
sure, and I agree with it. So I guess in that situation, I'm trying to work this out. it's okay if she doesn't
Or she
want
wants to
to
get the food paid
reveal,
for.
but then like she knows that this is a deal breaker for you, and that she
Or
should
that.
like end this situation.
Lactoid.
Okay, even like let's say she doesn't tell you Lactoid, right? She's whatever for reason afraid, doesn't want to reveal, right? That's okay on her part, but then like the relationship needs to end, right? Even if she gives you another reason, relationship needs to end. Because she might have reasons to keep.
Wait, no, that's fine. That's why I said if she continues the relationship,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
If she continues this, then I think that's fundamentally dishonest. I also think that like when guys lie about their height on dating platforms, that's
Yeah.
dishonest. And Scott, to a tweet that you made before, to some extent, makeup is dishonest too. Maybe to like a
Makeup is
lesser extent, but
deceptive.
it's deceptive.
Okay, so
I think
we
to some
can
It's
extent.
deceptive, but not to a lesser extent, to
let's
a
put
more
the makeup-
extent.
Let's put the makeup thing aside for a second, because that's gonna that's a whole other thing.
Well, I'm not
Same
that
thing
man.
at
Very
Bible
consistent
and
on
Lactoid
that.
is wrong. I put it aside.
Lactoid. I like where your head is going. Maybe now you can admit to the audience you're only 5'11". Like at some point,
I am 6'2", and I find it morally wrong to lie about that. So you know I'm telling the truth.
Bro, I have
You've
had
been lying
so
about-
many girls. Just to interject for a second, I've had so many
I know
girls
you're interjecting.
tell me to my face that I'm like 6'7" or 6'8", and not believe that I'm 6'5", because
Yeah.
so many guys have lied about being 6 feet that are like 5'10".
fucked
And they're
up.
like, no, you're like 6'7", 6'8", and I'm like, I'm not an inch or two taller than the average NBA player. Like that's not what's happening right now. I am an inch shorter than the average NBA player. Stop. And they're like,
And
no, you need to get measured again. I'm like, what?
And lactoid is contributing to this problem. Okay, so let's get back to the issue at hand, right? So I think all these things are context sensitive, and I don't think I'll get much pushback on this, right? So, like we talked about an abusive partner, but what if they're abusive in the context of like a pregnant woman, right? So like the father is, well, if they're physically abusive, I think we can all agree, hopefully we can all agree, that in that case he's kind of like forfeited his rights there, right? If you're beating up on the woman, I think, yeah, you don't get to know at that point, right?
You're not operating in good faith, right?
If he
Like
raped
you're
her,
beating someone.
if he straight up raped her, then I think obviously that he doesn't get a say in this, right? He doesn't get to get informed. Where otherwise I would say that he should be informed, right? Like assuming they're not abusive. Emotionally abusive, I think, is interesting, right? Because it's like, what if this relationship is truly miserable? Like miserable to the point where like you would otherwise have like leave the relationship, but now you find out you're pregnant, right? And that would trap you with this individual for a long time. Now they don't put your hands on the lady, right? They don't do any of that, right? They don't force themselves on them, but like they're being psychologically such a psychological detriment to her that if she did have this baby, like she'd be trapped there and have to deal with that forever. Like is that enough? Like does
she
that
planning on
invalidate? I think that's
Wait, is she planning on leaving otherwise, or is she going to
You-
stay otherwise?
well, that's what
It's
she's like planning on leaving. Otherwise,
It's an interesting
right? Yeah.
moral question, but also who here hasn't dated girls and been like, my last boyfriend was a narcissist? Like if you ask women how many
Oh my God.
men are abusive narcissistic controllers, it is like 17 times orders of magnitude above
I
those
agree.
that actually
I'm
it's
almost done.
insane.
I'm almost done.
That's a
So I'm
start
almost
in
done.
terms of the women that you go after if you're consistently encounter women.
No,
Yeah,
this
so
is all women.
No.
Let me
No, no,
finish. Let me finish. I'm almost done. I promise. I've been going on for a while, so I'm almost done. So what if the mother? Well, I've been only going for a while because you guys keep interrupting me. But I like to ask.
We're just having fun with this.
It's fine. I'd like to ask our friend Corey, right? What if the mother?
Poor Gibbs. Poor Gibbs.
Gibbs-
keeps
no,
getting-
I haven't gotten Gibbs. Gibbs.
I'll wait.
What if
I got some hot takes.
what if the mother gives birth and doesn't tell, right? Because before you were like, well, it doesn't make a difference. There's no harm. So like, when does that end, right? So like, can she do the exact opposite and decide to give birth to the child and then never tell the father? Is that okay?
That is the exact scenario that I believe Wick also proposed to me. And I said, yeah, that I don't view that as a moral transgression. And if they happen to,
Oh.
No,
Brother.
no, No, sorry, Gib. Sorry,
Unless
Corey.
there's some sort of like again some predefined agreement, or you actually have some sort of adult
Do
conversation.
you want
like-
fascism in America? Because this is how you get fascism. Takes like that,
Yeah,
where
like,
dudes, are just like, you know what?
Corey,
Women's rights
you're-
done. The blacks gotta go.
Corey, your
Fucking
prescription-
like
wait, your
you're like
prescription-
begging for it at this point.
Wait, let me just.
I'm securing my fucking lineage with power and violence.
Yes, yes, yes. I also mentioned to Wick that I'm sympathetic to the arguments of like removing all of the legal obligations that men are required to have as a result of getting a woman pregnant. And so if that is set aside, like, does your position change? And if the answer is no, I'd want to know why. But yes, if you want to go, Ali.
Wait, so like, yeah,
no,
I know.
Gibbs, no,
Your
no,
prescription-
Gibbs
your
gotta go.
prescription-
No, Gibbs.
Okay,
gotta
go ahead, go ahead.
Gibbs and-
All right, so I gotta say, I think, I mean, all right, let's just start with a couple of things. I've heard some wild assumptions here. One, it's Gibbs dates whatever. I'm gonna make that a wild statement. You fuckers are all terminally online, and my take is actually the norm. I think the closest take that was correct.
Around you and your
sure,
people.
that's fine. That's fine, Corey. That's fine. Hold on. I think the closest takes were Corey and Scott's here. Scott with the inverse of Lactoid saying the new normal's evil. He at least is acknowledging the new normal's a thing. Whatever. I want to break down something. Lactoid said, or one of y'all talked about Jerry Springer and 15 people having sex. Everybody laughed crazy. All right, cool. I don't know who said that, but that's interesting. That's a really interesting take because let's just examine this. Say you're in college for 5 years, you take a victory lap, right, to get your bachelor's. All right, in that time period, you date people semi-seriously. So you date people for about 6 months, and you figure out it doesn't work. And you date 2 people a year, that's 6 months, and you maybe have one-night stand in that period. In 5 years, you've now hit 15. That's 3 people a year. That's not that unreasonable of a number, right? Like, okay, that's different than saying,
hold on.
Gibbs.
You're saying they have a one-night stand at least once a year?
Yeah, like let's say they have a really terrible breakup, like once a year, and then they go decide we're gonna have a one-night stand.
Yeah, I mean,
which is reasonable.
That would have been in
Okay.
like the early '90s, late '80s. That would have been slut shit. Yeah, nowadays not so much.
Maybe,
Yeah.
but okay. I mean, maybe not. Who knows? I don't really give a shit. But here, okay, I don't think it's too ridiculous in 5 years for someone who's in college to go through like maybe 15 people in 5 years. That's not outrageous, right? Even if you like, say you get married. And you get divorced, and you have sex with one person that year, that's your wife, then you fuck somebody else's rebound, then you have a date, like, and you start dating somebody consistently, now you're at 3. Like, it's not that hard to get to 3 in a year, and like over a 5-year period, I think that's not reasonable. So when you're sitting here telling me, Gibbs, it's all the women around Gibbs, yada, yada. Listen, I've lived in many towns, and I've been all over the world. Right, and
brother, we were talking about
hold
not
on,
assuming
hold on.
exclusivity
Hold
after 2 years.
Hold on,
You're
hold on.
nah.
Hold on, let me finish. Hold on, I didn't interrupt you. I waited patiently here. I've heard some of the craziest bullshit I've ever heard. 7 weeks ain't no time to establish exclusivity, even if you're going on dates once a week. That's ridiculous. I'm sorry. Like, what if I go on one date a week with him over 7 weeks? But hey, I work all the time and never see him, and we spend 3 hours a week hanging out. What, like, unless you talk to this person,
Yeah,
and say you're
exactly.
exclusive,
100%.
you are insane to make that assumption. And I'm sorry that you have this work-grade online take where, hey, I'm terminally online, and this is going to be
Lactoid's
what I
a
have to
problem,
say because
yeah.
I'm this guy.
You're all going to hell.
7 weeks. Cool. I don't care. Anyway, moving on from that, hold on, because I got to hit everybody because I just waited 20 minutes, and then y'all turn it over and I'll be quiet again. So that's crazy. And then you're gonna go, well, Gibbs is just talking about all these whores around him. Well, no, sorry. Let's just go and look at something else. I'm sitting here going and listening to y'all, and I think here's the crazy take. Maybe because y'all are low ris men, and I could go get like some Down syndrome guy that I know that goes out all the time, and he can pick up girls and have this problem and has no problems doing it. I'm sitting
Why
here going,
that might be rape. That might be rape, brother.
Maybe, but he goes out. He goes, I want to meet women. He goes out and he can pick up women because he's got riz. He works out. Like, I don't see what's happening here. Whenever you're gonna go, these men are all so bad, morals that. I mean, bro, I go to church sometimes, and you know what I see? The Great Hoe Reformation. These women have been run through. There's 35 dudes have smashed this chick in the last 2 years, and now suddenly they're trying to settle down and get a man. I see this from the men too. They go to the church, they're like, I found God. I want to have a family. Hold on, I'm not talking about your moral projections right now. We'll get to that in a second. I got something for you too. Don't worry. So we're sitting here going through all this bullshit. This is the norm now. Now, whether or not that's a good thing, and we can talk about that in a second, is a whole different. But for you to sit here and go and act incredulous and go, Lord, It's crazy that people would have sex. I'm sorry, most people that are like somewhat social don't want to just crank it out when they can just go on Tinder, go on Hinge, go to the bar, go to the library, go to the fucking gym and meet people, and then fuck. It's not like fucking fun. And we got contraception, we got condoms, we got fucking abortion, we got all these things in modern society. Now, whether or not that's a good thing, once again, total different debate, but that's the norm. Now, it might not be the norm for some of these newer generations based on shit, but that's the societal norm. And for you to go, oh, haha, Gibbs crazy, he's just a whore, he's just fucking trashing women and hanging out with trashy people, that's nationwide. Now, I will admit here in South Texas, it's a little different because most people had 15 partners by the time they graduated high school, and a lot of people had kids by the time they were 23. That's a common thing. I'll get it. And that's somewhat cultural thing. You know, you have the Latino culture. It's very big on the cheating. We have like telenovelas. It's fiery, passionate. If it feels right, it is right. This is something that is in our culture. Like, I'm not bashing it. It's just, it's a thing. You have lots of partners. Like, that's what you do. So when you come and sit here and go, oh, you're giving this cultural prescription, and you're like, oh, well, whatever, yada, yada. I mean, it's just outrageous. Now, I think Fabian's got the most consistent position, and Corey has the most consistent, because Fabian's saying it's the norm, but yeah, it's probably not a good thing overall. And Corey's like, well, who are you to fucking tell these people what's up? Well, that's very libertarian of you. I'm glad you're on there. I didn't know we had the socialist, fascist, communist party in the house. And can you tell me where the hose didn't touch you, Lactoid? Because that's clearly what's happening here.
So go ahead, Ali, and then back to Lactoid.
Yeah. Damn, bro. Can't really don't attack Gibbsy and his partners, because like it was a little fair to, like, you know, don't be calling the girls hoes. They'd just be chilling. But I think like Corey.
I didn't use the word hose.
I know. I think Corey and Gibbs are Corey. Yeah, Corey and Gibbs are showing a little bit of two extremes, right? Where where Gibbs, you're saying that like if you are having sex with someone 7 times, that there's like no relationship at all. It's not an exclusive relationship.
It's a situationship.
But there's some type of relationship established, right? Fuck buddies, whatever it may be. You guys enjoy each other's company for temporary amounts of time, whatever it is. There is some type of like relationship established, and there is like some type of expectations out of these relationships. And I think the expectation is just honesty, right? You would hope that people are honest with you and operating in good faith for your well-being as far as theirs, right? If you're someone who fucks raw, they don't like to use protection, right? You maybe want to like be open with the people that you're having sex with, especially if it's multiple partners, because you're at higher risk for getting STDs, contracting them, passing them, so on and so forth. Not that it's intentional, but it happens. So there is like some weird, like some valid form of expectation out of the people that you are having sex with. Unless it's like kind of a one night stand, I don't think there's much of a moral expectation out of a person you don't know at all and you're just hooking up with that night. That's fair. But then the other extreme, Corey, where you're saying, like, you're kind of saying that everyone has to be in like, unless you are in a contractual relationship, anything kind of goes, right? Unless you specifically like outline in detail every aspect of like that could happen, right? Every if and or but, then you shouldn't be like kind of conducting yourself, or the expectation should be anything goes and it's the wild west.
And what you want before start making adult decisions.
Yeah.
Yes, that is absolutely what I'm advocating.
So the fact of the matter is, most people operate in a way where it's like, hey,
they're not
if we're dating, maybe there's no form of there's no expectation of exclusivity, right? You shouldn't, but there is some type of like good faith in operation, right? If I build some type of relationship with you, we're going out. It's like, a 7-week relationship. We're building towards something. Hopefully, there are going to be some like certain conversations in which you hear, like to Lactoid's point, you hear like a deal breaker or something that wouldn't necessarily affect you. There is an operation of good faith, right? And so like a lie of omission is still a lie, especially if like you it's a big thing. So once again, to like a one night stand, if someone doesn't tell the person that they got an abortion, I can understand. But if you're in some type of relationship with someone, I think there is like some type of expectation of good faith and honesty from that person. And if that person isn't operating within that like frame, then they're being dishonest, which is the moral judgment.
Wait a minute, hold on. Before Lactoid, like what Ali said, like shook something loose for me. I remember our conversations about marriage, right? You've talked about having a contractual marriage, right? Like one in which like you clearly lay out everything. Like all expectations of the relationship.
You can clearly lay out. Yeah.
But that's what you want. You think that is the ideal, right? And so if you're the type of person who thinks that within at least the context of marriage, that you should lay out everything that you can conceive of, right? Like in terms of like how it would work and what lines should be crossed and that type of stuff, then it feels like you shouldn't be like so far away from Corey, right? That hey, you should, even though you may not go through the effort of like going through a contract with a person you're dating, at the very least then you would check in and go down those lists, right?
So I think it's good to like go into detail about everything. Having like very open communication is a good thing, but I don't think it's like necessary to establish an expectation. Like the trans example that I brought up. Like, is it a good thing? Would it be a good society if every single time you sat down and you talked to somebody, you pulled out a checklist? Are you trans? Do you have any STDs? Do you do this? Do you do that? And then go down the list? Yes, that would be a good society in which like we literally have questionnaires, and maybe dating websites try to do this to some extent. Obviously not nearly as in depth because culturally a lot of people don't want to be as open.
Imagine the
y'all hear that?
TikToks coming out from the ick.
Do y'all hear that sound? That's the sound of every vagina on Earth drying up as he pulls out his
You're right.
Yes, what I just said.
I understand. This is literally what I'm saying.
Imagine the TikToks about the ick that would cause.
Yes, it would cause a lot of TikToks about the ick because
I understand why you like the dead bodies.
There are a lot of people. No, because a lot of people don't like that. Like, there's cultural reasons why they don't be that forthcoming. They don't want to be asked, even asked that. There's all sorts of reasons. Do I think it'd be like a good, more open society if that was like normalized? Sure, but that does not mean that those expectations don't exist. I still think that like you should have to disclose if you have an STD. I think that's like a reasonable thing to ask. I think the reasonable thing to expect, the other person might want to know that before getting involved with you sexually. I think the exact same thing when it comes to abortion, or when it comes to if they're trans, or when it comes to cheating. Let me ask you something. I'm curious as to your answer. Maybe you're just totally in a different world than me, Gibbs.
To me, or
you're telling me that this is to Gibbs. Gibbs, let's say you were dating a girl and you really got along with her, and you start not only you weren't spending just one day a week because that wasn't the scenario in this episode. You were spending every day with her for just under 2 months, every day, and you were really into her. You guys were hanging out all the time. Except there was one day you didn't hang out with her, and that was like the second to last day of the 7 weeks. And then, like on the very last day of those 7 weeks, you're like, "Hey, what should we do today?" And she says, "Oh, I'm sore. I just got railed by 40 guys." You're telling me you're going to have no feeling of betrayal. No feeling of betrayal. You're not going to look at that and be like, "What the fuck?" You're going to be like, "Oh, okay. I didn't expect anything because we didn't say anything. We didn't say anything in writing. So I'm just going to go." No, you're going to be fucking pissed.
Well, hold on.
No, you shouldn't be. You have no right to be pissed.
Hold on. Okay, hold on. There's a twofold answer here. One, there's the I have a right to be pissed, right? Because of, hey, yeah, we've had whatever. But if I haven't sat here and talked and agreed it's a monogamous relationship, I don't have an actual reason to be able to be pissed. It's because it's not exclusive. Now, this is where I do break away with Corey here. I think that I fucking hate what I'm about to say. I fucking been yelling at somebody all week for saying this. I will absolutely say your feelings of betrayal and being mad can absolutely be valid feelings, and you can crash out, but that's because I'm a toxic individual, and women love that shit. So what I'm saying is, yeah, I am going to crash out, and I'm going to be like, "You fucking whore, you got railed out." Then I'm going to go and try to fuck all of her friends, and then they're going to tell her how great the dick was, and then
Very
I'm
healthy.
Come back. And yeah, listen, I didn't claim to be a healthy individual here. I'm just telling you that that's what I would do because I'm honest. Now, finally, I think that you're and lastly here, I think, yeah, your feelings are valid for this betrayal, because it is a betrayal. Like, oh, you have gone under this thing where you're doing this assumption. Oh, we've been hanging out with it, yada, yada. However, big words here. He's absolutely correct. Tough titties. You know what assumptions do? They make asses out of you and me. And guess what? She gave up that ass to somebody else because you were
okay, wait, one more question then.
Real quick. Admiral Gibbs and Corey, if you could let me know what you believe is the most comfortable cuck chair by hotel, I would appreciate that. Like,
I will. It's whatever chair you're sitting in while I smash your next girlfriend. Whatever chair you're sitting in when I smash your next girlfriend. That's
okay. So I got a super chat.
Got it.
I got a super chat. It's from my main man Doobie, $10. He says, "Ask Lactoid about the coochie spreadsheet." If you could
Oh,
elaborate on that.
We're not going into that. No.
Spreadsheet.
We're not going.
I see your face got red, bro. Now I need to know right now.
That's a different
Wait. Do
conversation.
you have a
So,
spreadsheet
no.
the different women, their attributes? What it's like to sleep with them? Like the characteristics of their vaginas?
Are
Maybe.
you Dennis? Are you Dennis from Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
he's got the dentist system, bro.
You're
Oh.
Dennis
he's not
from
talking
Always
about
Sunny.
Dennis,
You know
bro.
what, Lactoid? That's fitting. That's fitting.
He doesn't have a black
You'd have
book. He has a
Coochie
pink book.
spreadsheet. Your face got red.
Dennis
Wow.
I
also
just
likes
like
to
to
keep
keep things organized. Okay, all right.
Dennis is also
Actually, I'm
brother.
not sure if there's anything wrong with that. I'm gonna put it out there.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's just funny.
Thank you, Prime.
There's nothing wrong.
just like
It's
to
just
keep things.
hilarious.
I like to keep things organized. Can I ask Gibbs a question though? This is relevant.
Sure.
Oh yeah, here you
Gibbs, what is your let's say, well, okay, you just say tough titties, okay? Let's say after a year,
Yeah, get
okay, 'cause you
good.
said 2 years. So after a year, you find out the person is trans. Know it, like just get good. You got had.
Yep.
I would
Sucks
say,
for you.
Dan, you got very good plastic surgery that I couldn't tell for over a year having sex. I'm confused now. I guess I thought I was straight. I still think I'm straight. I guess your surgeon did really good. What's their name and info so I can recommend them to some people?
What about STDs? What about STDs? Let's say like after like 4 months, you find out that like you have herpes now, or like some kind of incurable, relatively uncomfortable.
You didn't ask specifically if they had herpes beforehand, right? You know.
Well,
didn't.
This,
Yeah, you didn't ask,
This is
Gibbs.
this is how I know that you're not sexually active, because I go get blood tested once a month, and you find that shit out quick. So then you go, oh God, I got tested, I caught this. Who have I had sex with in the last month? And then you call them up and go, hey, I caught this, so you gave it to me, you motherfucker.
Go to the spreadsheet.
And
Yeah, and then tough titties though, because there's nothing. Who cares? Like they gave it to you. They're like, oh, I mean, I guess that sucks. You didn't ask me.
Well, sociologically, there's this cool thing called making money, and then you get insurance, and that pays for the pills that handle that. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Christ. I mean, listen. Once again, I operate in the world that Corey is kind of like describing. Right? I understand that the world is nuts, and that you should probably have a little bit more conversation with the person that with people that you're going to be sexually active with. Right. So, Corey, I agree with you in practice. Right. In practice, I do agree with you. I don't agree with you in like I don't think it's that's how we should prescribe society to be, right? I think we should have like normal expectations. I think we should set up on like a normal expectation like standard, right? There should be a standard that we know that most people operate within, and if you don't want to operate within that standard, you kind of should make it clear.
Well,
Because
no, wait.
because me and you are probably a bit more like people that are doing these panels or having discussions are a bit more introspective, right? We're gonna think about like our actions. We're trying to defend them, right? We're trying to defend our ideas and our thoughts. The average person's just kind of fucking walking around being a dumbass, not knowing what's going on. And so like my prescription can't be, well, hey, you should really sit and think about what you want to do. Although like I think that's the right thing. I don't know if anyone's going to do it. I would kind of like to just establish some type of boundaries and norms for people that the normies can fucking just live without emotional turmoil, man.
Well,
Yeah, it's called having conversations.
Exactly. And that the adult thing to do. You can have any sort of expectations that you want. Okay, you have every right to do that. But then don't be surprised if life doesn't fit your expectations. If you don't take into account and look out for your own interests. And again, no judgment on any of the people around Gibbs. I haven't used any specific language about the people around you, but Gibbs has been very clear in terms of the type of people that he goes after. And it's to the fact that, okay, from what I understand, I don't know if it's actually true or not, he has to encase certain things in his house so that they're not breakable, given the fact of the particular women that he chooses. And that is on him, as in, given the fact that he makes those choices, and therefore he has those expectations. As a result of his choices, he has to be accountable for that. And that it's baked into his life of like, well, I now need to put my degrees in bulletproof cases because I go after these.
But then there's people who operate in normal. Wait. Let
me finish my point. If you don't want to vet the people that you sleep with, then it's on you that they don't tell you that they're not pregnant. It's on you that they don't tell you that they got an abortion. Okay? If you don't want to look out for your own interest and you want to assume, that is on you.
Wait, I agree. I agree with you to an extent. Gibbs selects for the type of people that he's with, so then Gibbs prepares for the expectations that come with the people that he operates within, right?
Amen.
But when you're a normal person operating in normal society, so like in the context of the show, these people were not like two extremes of anything. They seem to be representative of like just normal people, right? If you're operating with someone and you seem to be operating on the same level, but then they do something out of the extreme, that expectation is fair to have of that person because they're operating within the same realm that you are until they do this one askew thing. And this one askew thing is not something that you necessarily expect out of somebody, right? Especially if you have an assumption of who they are because of the time that you've spent, because of the time you've spent in the relationship you've built. So like you kind like they're operating within their own realms and within their own norms. So they are preparing for what they assume they should prepare for in their context.
Gibbs eloquently said it. If you assume, okay, that is on you, and at least to certain outcomes. Okay, as much as I disagree with Gibbs on many things, like he is
I think you
here.
should. I think you should.
You know, only you as a person know your red flags. Only you know what you can live with. If you don't look out
Hold
for that,
on. I agree with you. I agree with you. But then you say, oh, a woman can get pregnant and then like not even tell you, and then just like take the baby and like raise them like completely in secret, and that's like a-okay. Like that's a weird. I'm sorry, like it's a weird.
I'm not saying it's a-okay.
No, you did say she's like not morally.
You said there's nothing wrong with it.
Then do I view that as, let's say, a moral transgression in terms of they never had any sort of conversation? That I don't view it as a moral transgression. Just like I said, I agree the person is awful.
Wild.
But
that's
that's
wild.
not a moral transgression.
That's wild. That's wild. Of course it's a moral transgression.
Did we define what moral transgression was again? I may have forgotten or missed it. Did we moral transgression is just like morally bad?
I mean, honestly, we really want to get down to it. The most moral thing
you have
would be to have sex with as many people as possible and have as many kids as possible. That would be the most moral thing because we're humans, and as a human, we're an animal, and our job is to procreate and continue our lineage. So those of you that aren't having sex, bad lactoid.
Did you say, Scott?
Not moral.
So I was saying that like
immoral.
A moral transgression implies that you have done something immoral, right? But that immorality has affected or gone on to another moral agent or actor, right? So assuming that we're like let's set animals aside as like moral actors and not get into weird dog fucking scenarios type shit. Like what we mean is, right, like you've done something immoral that has affected another person, right? So from like a libertarian perspective, right, if someone lies about getting an abortion or something of that nature, it could potentially be fraud in a certain aspect. But if they do a lie of omission, right, it's not necessarily a violation of the non-aggression principle, right? It doesn't justify me harming them in return. But I could still say that it is immoral, and I could still say that it's a moral transgression. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm justified in like some just compensation, et cetera, right? Because like, the concept of an implicit contract is vague and somewhat invalid in terms of whether or not you can then kind of respond to a failed contract. But when we're talking about moral evaluation of something, right, we can look at it from multiple domains. Like I'm essentially an anarcho-objectivist, right? So looking at it from an objectivist framework, we would want individuals to act in their own rational self-interest, and they may be, if there's some fear or some like threat of coercion from me or something like that, then maybe they're justified in that means of like keeping things from me. But if I'm engaged in a relationship with someone and there's an element of fraud to it, even though it's kind of like a gray area, right, then we're definitely dealing with a big moral evil. So like in Atlas Shrugged, for example, Taggart is his sister is the one that is actually keeping the railroad company afloat, and a young girl thinks that it's actually the CEO, the brother, and he lets her believe the entire time that he's actually the vision behind the railroad doing well, as opposed to Dagny Taggart. And eventually she learns throughout her marriage and, gains some rational thought and realizes that he's not the person that she thought she was. And it destroys her entire worldview. She runs out into the street and she commits suicide, right? Now, he's not directly responsible for the suicide in first order consequences. It's not necessarily justified to kill him. We can definitely say that what he has done by omitting information and letting her believe that he is somebody that he isn't, that he has frauded her. He is, you can even take a Kantian perspective if you don't want to look at it in an objectivist perspective, right? Never treat like the categorical imperative, right? You're denying a human being the information to actually be able to act in a rational way because they believe you're type A person when really you're type B person. And so I think there's something to be said about corollaries, right? And so you shouldn't have to ask a woman if she's pro-life or not if you ask a woman if she's Muslim. Because let's assume you're Muslim. If you ask someone if she's Muslim and then I'm Muslim, that would imply a set of world beliefs around that. And so if she has these differing opinions around abortion or around sex with other people or modesty, and she's wearing a hijab, let's say, right? And then you find out she got gangbanged by some other people, it's like, you shouldn't have to have a contract with this person that says we are exclusive and you are pro-life and you are these things, because she led you astray. She let you believe that she was someone that she wasn't when you said, hey, I'm looking for a Muslim girl. That's what I want. My family wants. Those are the values that I have, etc. And that should be like an encompassing thing, right? And so implied consent in relationships and interpersonal relationships is going to be a gray area, and people are going to interpret those things differently. And that's why it doesn't meet the level of justification of like violation of the non-aggression principle. But there's certainly in those gray areas, we can have moral condemnation and discussions about why that's immoral to engage in obfuscating reality and keeping people in the dark about what type of person you are when all the signs are there that they don't like that.
So let's move on from this conversation. I think that we've like mined it. It'd be great if we had some women here. I would love to have known there. I did invite women, but
Gibbs literally has a woman there that we could ask.
But she would agree with me.
She's going to disagree with you on everything, Lactus. I don't know if you want to bring her in.
She disagrees with me.
Then I won't be too mean to her, then I can ask her some questions. Okay.
I gotta be honest. I don't know that we want the Destiny Rose Lactoid combo. That would be Lactoid getting roasted for most of it. I feel like he would be able to like outsmart her, and then she would just cook him as Latina can. Only Latinas can. It's very impressive. They have this talent to like cut you down to your wick, your bone. They'll get you.
They are vicious.
So let's move on. I would like to have this guy, if we can get some women on. I would like to have this conversation again to see what they have to say. And like what like should and shouldn't be told. I think in our society is that a lot of these deal breakers, I think you guys are going to disagree with me, but a lot of these deal breakers I think land on women in a way they don't land on men. That there are some things that a man can do that are objectionable, right? And make them undateable or whatever. But like for the most part, these things tend to land on women. The emphasis tends to be on them, right? Their sexual history, their
they should raise their standards then to meet ours.
Wait, hold on. You think it's easier? You think it's easier to date as a man than a woman?
I think he's saying the standards. He's like the standards seem to be more imposed on like women than there are like standards that are on men. Like what is like really a standard for men? Be like, make a little bit of money, be relatively strong,
money, height.
But for
like
women, it's
fitness.
like personal. It's like personal choices, right? Like we don't really get judged on like the personal choices that we make, how many women we sleep with, like the type of attitude we have, being cavalier, so on and so forth. Women seem to get judged on like their past, their partners, so on. And that's what he's saying.
They judge you on how few people you have sex with.
That's hilarious.
We judge you. We're like, oh,
that's what he's. That's why I was like,
no. That's what I'm saying. That like.
Yeah.
It's especially when we're talking about like personal choices. Like now I'm not saying it's easier to date. I think it depends on what you mean as like ease, right? Because that does a lot of work, right? Is it easier?
I too took a gender studies, women's studies class.
Okay, all right, calm down. If it means like, hey, can I like get people to go out on a first date with me? Well, then women have it easier, like without a doubt, right? But is it like like the expectations within the context of a relationship and of the context of like sexual mores, right? Like in that realm, it's a much harder when you're a woman, I think. Yeah, but like
women are sexual selectors and men are relationship selectors. I mean, that's kind of that's the gripe, right? Is that women are like, hey, we can get guys to fuck us, but we can't get guys to like actually want to like date us or marry us because they're too busy trying to just fuck. And then guys are like, hey, we can't get girls to fuck us.
We're going back in time in our red
they,
pill
you know,
takes now. we're going to like 4chan beginnings of red pill at this point. Like,
okay,
mean,
so
well, the lock and a key are different. Like, all right.
And I'd also like at some
Insurrection time.
point to like revisit the whole sleeping around. Like I would actually okay, so we'll have to make it a separate conversation because that comment about the 15 men I actually want to engage with. But some other time.
But also, keep in mind this way: like women can just hide that from you and just lie to you.
Oh no.
But when it comes to your income, right, can't really hide that.
You absolutely can.
Of course you can. Yeah, 100%.
for a little bit.
In a relationship.
For like
Yeah,
a little
But
bit.
when they have
not
access to
for
your bank
long.
accounts? Wait. Are you letting women check your like stock holdings and your bank
Yeah.
I
accounts?
mean, your ability to
We almost went to the
purchase-
topic.
Your
Then
ability to
Lactoid
purchase
had
or
to fucking
provide
burn it
anything,
down.
right? Like
Well,
like if you don't have a good car, you can rent one for a week or a
actually,
day or whatever it may be. But you're not gonna be
He's
able
like-
to
he's
figure
like,
that out.
he's like,
Ollie, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying.
Here's
Yeah,
my
like,
checklist.
in the
Here's
course
my
of a
fuck
relationship.
wall.
Actually,
Here you go.
again. Oh, but actually,
Here's my
let's not
checklist.
move
Here's
on.
stock
Hold on.
portfolio.
Scott, we don't talk enough shit on the women, okay? We very rare opportunities to do so. It's important that we do it every once in a while, okay? I want to do it.
Okay. Yeah, I think you can.
You'll
I
get
think-
no argument here, I
I think
guess.
there's plenty of ways to lie about your income. Yeah. I think there's lots of ways around that. But
Not for a prolonged period of time, right? It's going to be for like a short period of time that you can lie about how much money you have. It's just like
I mean, it
like
depends
if you're with someone.
Yeah, but you could also be like, I'm extremely frugal, right? That like I have money, but like I'm frugal. I'm responsible.
Yeah, but that's
money,
not. But that's not what the
spend-
argument. The argument would be that like you're acting like you have more money, which means that you're kind of showing it, right? If someone's frugal, but then they're lying and they say like there are people the extreme cheapskates like that you've seen on like TLC or whatever it may be, which is like that's someone who is broke but is also living like that. It's not like typical that someone's gonna be like rich, boast
No,
that they
it
have
actually
money,
is.
but then live
No.
like this. I don't know if the appeal would be dating that person. as, like,
no, I don't know about necessarily the boasting part.
Yeah.
But honey, boasting is adding too much, right? Like you can simply say I am up a certain tax bracket, right? But then you don't prove it, like because you're saying I am frugal.
I think what Lactoid and me
Yeah, but you
mean
can
is
lie about your body
income.
count.
Christian
I
Bale
think
still
when we're saying
drives
lie
a
about income, we're
2003
saying the person-
Toyota
the person
Tacoma.
the person who's putting on the perception that they have a lot of money and they don't actually have a lot of money. Sure, you can be rich and lie and say like, well, you know, you're frugal, and so on and so forth. But the idea is that like there are people who go down to Miami, rent a Lamborghini for the week,
I know
right?
what you're saying.
They take the pictures and then like that's the lifestyle they portray that they have. You can sustain that for like a week, a few days, but like eventually if you're in a relationship with someone, you're not gonna be able to lie about that.
No. I hear that, but I'm saying no. I'm responding to the base statement that you can't keep it up.
Let me rephrase. Let me rephrase this.
I think the implication was the lifestyle one that I was talking about.
Yeah.
Prime,
Like you
Prime,
cannot.
you should deport the next person that tries to continue this topic.
I thought I did.
You can perhaps misrepresent like your exact income, but you're going to be like within a certain bracket that you're not going to be able to misrepresent. Meanwhile, you can just say like, oh yeah, I've only had one partner when you slept with like 80,000, not 8,000, but like 80, 90 people, right?
Okay, sure. All right.
It's easier
That's
to
the
lie.
local. That's the new average is 80, 90 people.
Okay, if you're saying
That's
it's
the
an
next
easier-
norm that Gibbs is going to want.
If it's an
If
easier
they're
lie,
doing
then
the
that's okay.
twist and swirl, they probably have to bid with more than one person. All I'm saying.
The twist and okay. All right. Okay.
Next
All right.
topic, please.
We will move on. Hey, everybody. If you enjoyed that conversation, hello, hi. This is Reverie Roundtable, which we have Mondays, 8 p.m. Eastern. We got a great group of guests here. And excited to talk about the real topic. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But if you've enjoyed that, consider supporting the channel. Sub to the channel, give bits or give subs. we definitely could use your help. So consider doing that. Subs to the channel, give bits, or give subs. Also to the follow button. You're not so yet, right? If you just stopped in here, this is a lot of fun for you. We definitely wasn't planned to talk about about slut shaming, but here we are, and I guess it's not too surprising this group of guys that we would start that. But if you
Tectone.
use your Amazon Prime says Prime Gaming, if you have one, right? Use that here. Support the channel, free for you. It does a lot for us. Use that here. Support this community. We do need your support. So if you're out there, help us out. Super chats. If you're out there, super chats. So like our friend Doobie gave a super chat earlier. We'll read your super chat. It'll be great. Maybe it'll cause us to laugh. Maybe it'll cause us to gasp in horror as we dig down into the farthest reaches of lactose persona. But consider supporting the channel one or the other. In however way you like. Okay. So let's get to the topic. All right. The topic is, over the weekend, demonstrations broke out in multiple cities against Trump's immigrant mass deportation policies. At least I think it was multiple cities. Actually, I'm not sure anymore. I thought it was, but maybe it's just one. In response to the large-scale protests, Trump deployed the National Guard in Los Angeles. This was quickly decried by Democratic politicians, such as California Governor Gavin Newsom, as an unnecessary escalation on the government's part. Clashes between the protesters and the security forces have, in some cases, turned violent. Do you think deployed federal troops are necessary? This move was also condemned years ago during Trump's first presidency as the BLM protests were happening. Was such a move called for then? When should the Fed step in to quote-unquote maintain order? Do you think, in general, that the government should take a hands-off approach until the situation actually gets dangerous? Or should a police step in beforehand to ensure we never get to that point? Biggest story right now is the situation in LA, where it was started off because there was rumored ICE activity, and I think it's been confirmed that there was ICE activity there, that they were going to do their Gestapo thing and raid some areas for undocumented immigrants, terrorize them, and so the community came to confront them, and this we had a conflict between them and the police, and the police declared an unlawful gathering, and tried to disperse them, and then there was a lot of clash. So then after that, right as this is going on, Trump deploys the National Guard over the objections of the governor, Gavin Newsom. He deploys the National Guard. Technically, they're just around federal buildings, right? With the orders he gave, basically they're just protecting federal targets. But it's a lot of people considering this an escalation, and unnecessary. Maybe inflaming the crowd. And so people are thinking, what should we do? What should the president be able to step in? Should he do this almost unprecedented step about using the National Guard of the governor's objections? Where do you stand on all this? So we'll go around. You can do your introductions. So Lactoid.
Yeah, on Lactoid, you can find me at Lactoid TV, on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. As of, if I'm reading this correctly, as of 20 minutes ago, the Marines are going to be deployed as well.
Oh,
But 700 Marines are going to be deployed into Los Angeles to support the National Guard there. My understanding is that, and this was sort of alluded to, the National Guard and now, I guess, U.S. Marines are going to be deployed specifically to protect federal assets there, not only the federal buildings, but also ICE agents as they conduct their job, more or less, rounding up people for deportation or further hearings. I guess where I stand on this is that rioting is bad. I think it is interesting how you see the left's language on this shift back to the language that they were using before January 6th during the BLM riots. Now we're back. Now that the left has their kind of riots, now we're back to the whole riots, the language of the unheard. This is like important, resisting fascism, resisting evil, etc. And I think it's bullshit, right? They're attacking innocent people, innocent property that has nothing to do with this. It's bullshit, and it shouldn't happen. And I like the fact that innocent people and innocent property is being defended and protected. I would like for it to be defended by anybody who can defend it, whether it be civilians, whether it be law enforcement, whether it be the National Guard, or I guess Marines might be a little bit excessive. But I mean, if it's seriously that bad, then I'm okay with using force to protect innocent people and property. I don't like the ICE raids, just to be clear. I think that they're pretty. I'm pretty against mass deportations in general, and I'm pretty against what's happening now with ICE just going into workplaces and picking up people who are working and otherwise contributing to society and not being, gangsters or drug dealers or whatever, not being just like bad on the world. And they're just trying to, work, sell, work on roofs or sell tacos or whatever they want to do. If it's like pro-social, I mean, I'm not wrong, right? Like this happens, and they're doing a lot of that work that I think is good. So I don't understand why we have to throw them out of the country or put in a whole bunch of money to throw them out of the country when they're not doing shit that bothers me or really any other American. Kind of dumb. Seems like a big waste of money, especially when we're talking, rightfully so, about the fact that we have this massive deficit and how we're burning through way too much money. We got to cut the budget down, and we got to cut down how much we're spending. Seems like spending money throwing away productive people is probably a good place to start.
Selling tacos. Yeah, that might
All they
be
do.
one of the things.
Rhyme, didn't you know?
I know
yeah.
multiple taco trucks, and not all of them are going to be legal.
You know what? I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, Lactoid. That was a great take. All right, I'm not going to let them shit on your take, Lactoid. Good for you.
No. Well, Lactoid wants them. He's happy if his citizens defending property, the government defending property. Some punk kid from 2 towns over, right, coming to be able to defend a store, right? He's happy with all types coming to defend property. But shout out to you, Lactoid.
Sure.
Let's go to our friend Scott.
Being a hero kid, but go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, so I think many of the protests are an example of like how the left is sometimes accidentally based, right? Because they don't have any moral foundations for most of the things that they believe. They kind of just shift into the current vibe that's happening, right? Like, oh, Palestine and Israel is a big deal. And then they just kind of, like that meme of Homer Simpson going to the bushes and now it's no human is illegal because this is the cool thing to do in the moment, right? I mean, they don't give a fuck. Most of these protesters don't actually give a fuck about the deportations because Obama was deporting twice as much as Trump is, right? Trump's really bad at deportations. He's not getting nowhere near as much done as Obama was. I think the Trump administration's a bit in a rock and a hard place here because there is a recognition that the next Democratic administration is likely going to push in anything they can to give citizenship to people that have been here for 5 to 10 years, right? And so the hordes of immigrants that came over, that were brought over, forced integration via, welfare and taxes and given hotels and cell phones and shipped around the country. Those people, when the next Democratic administration comes in, they're going to attempt to give them citizenship, and a majority of them are going to vote for the Democrats and even push for more progressive politics and socialism. And so, I think Republicans are rightfully scared that if you don't get rid of 20 million, immigrants, then we're going to kind of lose, the kind of the liberal democracy American kind of like, the last vestiges of what the Republicans that are, center left socialists are they're going to lose, and we're just going to get progressivism. That being said, I've said on this panel before, even before Trump was elected, right, that, mass deportations is a policy that will never work. It's way too expensive. It's not something that is feasible. And I said before, like, look, you want to go into hotels and you want to pull out, or apartment buildings or bad neighborhoods and pull out Tren de Agua. I don't give a fuck what happens to Tren de Agua, right? They're terrorists, and so are ICE. But you want to grab Lupita from your apartment building, who's been here for 10 years and is like not done the right paperwork, but has a job here. Number one, she hasn't really aggressed upon anybody intentionally. It's the state that is the aggressor by creating the welfare systems that she's used. And so it's a violation of her rights. And so, the only way to solve immigration is to get rid of the state. There is no right non-aggressive action of immigration policy. The only non-aggressive position is private borders. Open borders is a violation of our rights. Closed borders is a violation of rights. Deportation of people is a violation of rights, unless, of course, they are criminals that have done property damage. So, I think in a way, some of these, I think much of these protests, like I said, are kind of based. But it's a shit show. I think, Karen Bass is probably trying to make it more of a shit show. I think, all the Democrats are pouncing on an opportunity to say Trump is the evil fascist dictator because he's doing the same thing we supported a few years ago. I think it's hypocrisy. It's media narratives putting out something. But at the end of the day, do I think the state ought bring in the National Guard to protect ICE deportations of people that are nonviolent, that haven't violated anybody's rights? No. What I think they ought do is they ought fucking stop these ICE raids, only target gang members, and actually focus on shit like they promised, like Doge cuts and reducing the welfare state and reducing some of these incentives. But instead, we have the big, beautiful bill with a couple of fucking slapped on, we're not going to stop Social Security payments to states that have illegals. And it's like, yeah, sure, that's a start until you raise the fucking debt limit by another $5 trillion and fill a bill up with nothing but pork. Trump is on track to be the worst president in U.S. history when it comes to increases of taxation and when it comes to increases to the budget deficit. Like, if he doesn't fix this tariff thing around, then he will be the worst president that we've had probably since FDR. And that's the reality. And I recognize that Republicans are afraid to engage in that way because they know in 4 years it's likely a Democrat will be in charge and everything that they got done to reduce the size and scope of the state will be reversed. But it's really the only way to actually fix this.
Corey.
Okay, I'll try to be brief, but I do want to clarify one thing with Lactoid. How big, do you have a family size of Pringles? Because you've been eating them for like 2 hours.
Yeah. They're really good. It's the hot ones. They're really
okay.
spicy.
You're only eating one tube?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's only eating like one or two every few minutes, usually.
They're thin. They're really thin.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
By the way, this is that white people definition of spicy.
No, I eat Mexican food. This is like actual Mexican food from the trucks where none of them speak English. And I'm telling you, this is spicy.
Okay, but either way, I actually largely agree with Scott. So definitely damaging people's property, not good. And like actual protests, good, that don't destroy people's properties. And like, yes, also the ICE raids seem to be largely inefficient and generally like going after people that probably almost certainly should not be targeted, pretty much just like everything that Scott said. And just like, yeah, pretty much like a waste of money. And also, from what I gather, if I remember correctly, I think there's an explicit clip of Trump saying that like you should only call in the National Guard if the governor requests it, unless he's changed his position. It seems like yes, he's actually doing, or like yeah, he's pretty much either he lied or he never actually meant to say that. And so he seems to be pretty much not surprisingly, being hypocritical. And like, yes, this seems to be largely an escalation, maybe a distraction for other things going on, and just a waste of money. And I'll leave it there for now.
Thank you. Let's go to our friend Grid. Grid, nice to have you here. I haven't seen you in a bit.
Hey, yeah, good to be back.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah, good to be back. Been a minute. Been traveling and whatnot. You can find me at An Unreasonable Man on YouTube. And I do cool stuff on the YouTube every once in a while. So I have kind of a different take on this. First of all, as near as I can tell, and nobody's shown me anything different, the ICE raids are targeted specifically to people with existing orders of removal, past felony charges, multiple immigration violations, so on and so forth. They're not targeting Lupita from apartment building, trying to make it.
All right, hey, but you're roboting.
They're actually
Was that only
roboting?
for me? Yeah.
That's you.
I think it's only
just-
for you.
You.
Okay. Hold on.
Inside.
Give me a second. I'm
Yeah.
You're
gonna
the robot.
leave and come back.
So with the ICE raids targeting, people in targeted removal, I'm okay with that. That's fine. Matter of fact, every one of you said that you were okay with that type, and not broadband. Just go in and get whoever. So let's just the ICE people were doing their job. A bunch of malcreants decided they don't like the job, and they start interfering with federal operations. I think Trump is threatening federal aid in the form of whatever he feels necessary, whether that's the Army, the Navy, the Marines, the Space Force, whoever the fuck. I'm actually really interested to see how all of the people who had their nuts on fire so hard over Jan 6 are now like, no, it's cool. It's cool, guys. It's cool. It's cool. They're just protesters. So this will be a great conversation, and I can't wait to get into it. You guys have some very a variety of views, and I can't wait to hear them and go, give some feedback.
Okay. Am I roboting you guys? Testing.
Not me.
Okay.
He did do a weird thing there for a second. I thought it was my headphone, but
Okay.
I didn't hear the first one.
Okay.
Sorry.
Let's go to our friend Ali.
What's up, guys? I go by Sociologic. Right now, you can just find me on X. I'm on other things, but I'm working on a different name. Anyways, so the whole January 6th thing, I think the difference is going to be there. One was on like the building, and I forget which building it was, but like it was an actual like government building. This is against ICE, which I think the average person doesn't even know like what ICE is. I mean, to me, I feel like it's just like some dudes they rounded up that were like failed cops or failed army, and they're like, hey, do you want to do deportations? They're like, okay. So like I don't know if anyone's like gonna respect ICE in the same way they respect like a congressional building or whatever. Riots are bad, right? I don't want riots. But once again, when the average person hears mass deportations, they're not necessarily thinking that it's just going to be criminals or like gang members. They are thinking it's going to be Lupita. And so when people think that, this is what you're going to like, you're going to get these riots, you're going to get protests that lead to riots. And especially when it's like mass deportations of people, I think the way that we're doing the rhetoric around this it's like, I don't know what you expect other than this, right? When people are calling for like mass deportations of people, half of the country is like, well, we voted for it. Well, the other half didn't vote for it. The other half is against it. And if the other half is against it and it's like it's in their principled beliefs, then they're going to fight against it because they believe that their country is being lost. So I just don't know what you expect out of it. And I don't believe that the ICE raids are just targeting criminals and gang members. I do believe it is just like a mass deportation effort.
And finally, our friend Gibbs.
Yeah, I think it's pretty crazy that, once again, we have the Dems making the states' rights big cotton arguments. It's like, hey, don't send the federal troops in, 1861, 2000, whatever, in 2025. It's crazy, but hey, whatever. I see this akin to when the last time we did this was when Lyndon B. Johnson sent in troops to protect the civil rights movement in a college in Alabama. I feel like this is a similar moment in history. Trump is absolutely morally justified. I actually want to call for the government to take action and charge, what's her name, Bass with treason, because she is actually aiding and abetting foreign nationals in an invasion on our land, destroying property. It's crazy. I think she should be punished to the fullest extent of the law for treason. Maybe even consider looking into doing it to Governor Newsom. It's atrocious what they're doing. We literally have foreign nationals destroying property on our land, and then we have people like our friend Sociologic here saying things like, oh, hey, they're destroying their country. No, bitch. You know what? This is a cool thing. They have foreign national citizenship. This isn't their country. This is our country that they're destroying. Fuck these people. This is exactly why they got to go. It's outrageous. We can sit here. The Republicans have a problem with like Elon Musk. You know how many Teslas were keyed in that time? Not a single one. But one thing happens. We enforce the legal rule of law because they broke the law with being in this country legally. After that, everything they've done is fraudulent. So that, if they buy something, we got tax fraud. If they sit here and do something with a fake ID, that's fake identification. That's probably crime too, I believe. Every single thing. Then they're taking taxpayer dollars with social services. All of this is just crime on crime, and these people are standing up for criminals. And it's outrageous. They're destroying law-abiding systems. I bet if your name was Jones Abood and you owned a gas station in this area, you would be really excited for the National Guard to come and protect your place whenever the LAPD is running like a bunch of idiots because Karen Bass has told them to, because she's committing treason and allowing a foreign power to invade our country. It's outrageous. It's disgusting. You could say, oh, these people didn't vote for this. Yeah, you're right. They didn't vote because they're not citizens. 54% of Americans, according to a recent poll, said they approve of Trump's deportation efforts. This is part of that. We're going to sit here and go, hey, this is bad. It's bad. No, I'm sorry. We've seen what's happening in California. California is the third world. We might as well just call it goddamn Somalia. I can't tell the difference between Somalia and LA right now. They look exactly the same. It's fucking crazy. I mean, and then people are like, oh, it's no big deal. Oh, like I saw Wick this week and I challenged him on it on Twitter this week. And he's like, oh, this is just, it's so peaceful. It's insurrection. It's not insurrection, all these things, yada, yada. And I'm like, yeah, bro, I don't know about that. It looks pretty insurrection-like when they're taking over buildings and doing things. Like, there's a reason why Obama wanted to call in the National Guard on the Bundys. I don't remember if he did or not, because the local police were overwhelmed by these rednecks that had too many guns. Same thing when the Michigan Capitol building got taken over. These rednecks had too many guns. They're too, people for the local PD. We have the same issue now, except they're not using guns. They're using Molotov cocktails and bricks and sheer massive numbers to destroy things. They have the police. We have videos of the police hiding under fucking bridges as these people burn down the area around them. And we're going, nah, it's fine. It's fine. Mostly peaceful. It doesn't matter if it's mostly peaceful if the city is fucking burning. It's outrageous. It's disgusting. And anybody that supports this, you are supporting treason. You're supporting insurrection and the start of the Civil War. That's what this is. And it's just outrageous because literally ICE, even if it is Consuela that's just doing nothing, they're supporting the rule of law. It's a law. I got told this week that migrant alien was the proper term, and you can't use the illegal alien. And even though I'm Latino, by using the words illegal alien, I'm using internalized racism. That's what I got told this week. And I go, it's internalizing racism to say the words illegal. This is the kind of lunacy we're getting from the left. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. It's totally outrageous, and y'all sound like Big Cotton from 1861.
Yeah, just real quick, if 56% of voters wanted this, that would mean that 44% of voters didn't want this, and those were the people I'm talking about when they're going to rise and look at their country. So it is half of people, right? We're going to do a 50-50 split. There are people and if you just want to consider all of those people as treasonous, I mean, sure, but then they're going to do the same to you, and we're going to get nowhere.
We have done that. We have done that for the last 20 years, I think, or something like that, or 12 of the last 16. We've had Democratic presidents, right, except for Trump, till the one little exception. And Republicans have been sitting there going, oh, it's terrible. How many times did Republicans have fucking riots that destroyed towns to the numbers like of LA's numbers or the BLM riot? We've never done that. And then you'll go, January 6th. Listen, that was on one building, and it was like 200 people, and y'all rounded them up, and you tried them to the purest extent of the law. Now, y'all can argue over the pardons later, but it was a small targeted area that happened. Whether or not that's this right. These fuckers are destroying $20 billion worth of damage by some estimates in BLM, and this, who knows what this is going to be by the time it's done, because this looks like it's just kicking off. We're barely with the first round of raids.
You have to make it high, so have higher standards for police, right? Like, don't just hire anybody to be a police officer and just give them a gun and like the law, like, hey, control the law.
Look, one last thing here.
They can't handle it, right? We got to get the Marines involved.
This is a crazy argument. They're saying, oh, you're the ones escalating it by sending the National Guards and Marines. You know what? If I was a business owner, I'd really want them to fucking escalate it, because I looked at the LAPD running like a bunch of little scared bitches because Karen Bass is telling them to do nothing while they're burning down my business. I think, I would like them to escalate, because you know what escalation really is? Them doing nothing and watching them just burn down their shit. Not everybody's got insurance, bro. You're in California. It's $1 million to buy anything, and you're going to just let them burn it down and say, "Oh, well, we didn't escalate it. It's so good the National Guard didn't go in." I bet you would like. What's your address? Let's
I mean,
go over there.
it's,
And start
honestly,
burning
it's
your
better than
houses
Marines
down,
than
and you
rooftop
tell me if you
Koreans.
want the. Yeah, if you why don't you give me your address and we can burn down your
rioters
neighborhood
directly
and
to
you
my
tell me if
address.
the National
That's
Guard. I mean, I'm just saying that's what
So-
you're okay with. You don't want the National Guard to touch your house?
I don't think that's analogous
think-
for sure.
It's
I
absolutely
think
analogous.
I
It's
think
not
the
your
thing
backyard.
here,
You don't
right?
care.
I think the thing here that like strikes me as like, I guess maybe because I'm a libertarian or whatever, I don't fucking know, but it's the hypocrisy of the entire situation is just very interesting because, I mean, at least if you're a libertarian, you know, you have a basis for like what is aggressive and what isn't aggressive. But, you know, I see so many on the left that are, you know, oh, I'm pro democracy. And it's okay so long as we win the election because that's the will of the people and the social contract. And that's what we have to do. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, I believe in democracy. I believe in the will of the people. I believe in the social contract so long as my side wins and I get what I want. And then if the other side wins, well, all of a sudden I care about individual liberty and human rights. And, you know, we have to talk about the people whose rights are being violated in this instance, et cetera. And all of a sudden, property damage doesn't fucking matter, you know, vandalizing taxis and shit. Well, that's just the will of the people. That's just the unrest. That's just because fascism has come to California because Trump has, you know, gotten rid of migrants at half the rate as Obama. So, I mean, obviously it's insane, right? It's a vibes based, you know, I pick my principles whenever I want, right? Like, I think attacking cops isn't the best way to make your movement look good, but they're fucking cops. As far as I'm concerned, they have no justification for the safety of their lives, right? Like, I'm sorry, a cop killer is just one criminal killing another criminal. Like, that's just what it is. I'm not saying you should do it. I'm not saying it's morally good to randomly kill a cop.
What about
I'm just
Mr.
saying that
Booth
there's
and his gas station?
Lactoid co-signs all of this.
Well, but I think a private property owner, as you're describing, right? Someone who owns their property, or the people that own the fucking all of the, you know, the self-driving taxis that were destroyed, right? Or the you know, the Telemundo van, who's clearly on the rioter side, getting fucking busted up and like tagged and
They
all this
busted
other
up
shit,
a
right? Like,
Telemundo van.
they
Because they're-
did. It's fucking hilarious. And it's like, yeah. And I think there's something also to be said that this isn't organic either. This isn't just the left, collectivist left, you know, picking a new issue. Like, you know, we see the same shit that we saw on fucking BLM. We're seeing pallets of bricks randomly show up in the middle of the night. I wonder who bought those. And we'll
but
never get
City of
answers to
Tucson,
those
that's
questions.
escalation.
Right. I mean, I do think it is an escalation, obviously,
Hold on,
but that
hold on,
doesn't.
hold on, Fabian,
but you
hold
would
on.
say it's you would say it's a justified escalation.
Well, hold on. I would
right?
even argue the
Hold on,
opposite.
hold
Actually,
on.
if you go in with overwhelming force and put it down, that's going to eliminate the you know, escalation, right? Like, you're going to go in there, you shut it down, it's done, right? No more escalation.
If you murdered them all, yes, would.
Well, sure. Listen, I'm
would
not saying
stop
going
it.
out there and massacre them, bro. I'm not saying that. I mean, we can flood it with enough people that we can.
I mean,
use
you could make the argument.
like-
I mean, I think you could make the argument
that-
that it's like a reasonable escalation of like, right, but like that's
But
necessary.
if you're a
or
regular
something.
business owner
But I think
there
it's an
and your shit's
escalation.
getting burned down, I don't think you think it's an escalation at all. You're going, holy fuck, why do I pay taxes if my business is going to be burned down and they're going to attack
This is
me in my
semantics.
home?
No,
You
I'm
guys
agreeing
just-
with you. I'm saying that
right.
you
I know
believe
it.
that it's a reasonable escalation to reestablish
it's just
order,
semantics.
Right.
right? Like,
Well,
I'm not
hold on,
saying
guys. So
like,
back
like
in
just
the
descriptively.
back in the original LA riots, the Rodney King riots. You guys may I remember those. I don't know. Maybe I'm old, but
And I
You're the
don't
only
like
one.
you.
I'm the second oldest here, and I was a fucking like
All right,
toddler.
so
for
back
that.
in the Rodney King riots, they were burning things, looting things, and the LAPD did exactly what they're doing now, which is nothing. And so but the government didn't do anything. They didn't send in the Marines. They didn't send anybody. But you know what happened? You know what? Who stood up? Rooftop Koreans. They were literally armed on top of their roof, going to shoot people if they came into their neighborhood to loot them. There are pictures of it. It's a real thing. So either you have the government coming in and restoring order and protecting people and property, or you have people take it into their own hands. It's your call.
Yeah. So the feds did come in.
I mean, there's a third option. There's a third option, which is stop ICE raids unless it's only on
the riots stopped
fucking
immediately.
gang members and things.
Yeah. So like the government did come in during the LA riots. That they did show up
at the end, and then the riots stopped immediately
at the very end
as soon as they showed up.
Yeah, obviously. So the government took action and the riot stopped. Yeah,
so it worked. Yeah,
I haven't ever stated my opinion on this at all.
Riot looted because rooftop Koreans.
Racist ass Koreans. But in any case, I wanted to.
They're not white.
Why were they racist?
I wonder why they were racist. I wonder what made them racist.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So lactoid. So I've been reading into Posse Comitatus, the Posse Comitatus Act, which, in case you guys don't know, limits the use of the armed forces in the United States. Now, at first, it only applied to the Army. Then they expanded that to the Army and the Air Force. And then they further expanded that to the Army, Air Force, Marines, and Navy. So, like, they can't be used to enact domestic law unless otherwise authorized by Congress. As far as I know, they haven't been otherwise authorized by Congress. I'm trying to I'm looking through it and trying to see if there is an exception that I don't understand.
Yes.
Please.
And I'll read more. I'll read more into because it's been a long time since I've looked at this. But
sure.
My recollection is that they generally shouldn't be enforcing like state law, like law enforcement, but they can protect federal assets and persons. So, and that's what they're being used for, is what the administration is saying. So, like, for example, it would be arguably a violation if the president ordered the Marines in to like go start arresting people who are like committing like property damage, right? But it would be okay for the president to send Marines to walk with ICE agents who are enforcing valid deportation orders or like taking illegal immigrants, and then having those soldiers defend the ICE agent potentially with lethal force if necessary.
Okay, so as long as they are assisting in federal in the execution of federal law enforcement, then it's fine.
And protecting federal property.
Specifically protecting federal persons or assets. Like I'm pretty sure that's okay. They just can't like go enforce state law. But immigration is federal. There's been a ton of
that means they can't have a direct. So in that case, they can't directly respond to the protesters / rioters. They can't unless the rioters actively in danger.
That's probably correct. And that's why, by the way, when you read through all these incidences where like you tear gas or rubber bullets are being shot, they're all being fired by LAPD.
Yes, so that's my understanding. LAPD. So people keep characterizing LAPD as doing nothing. No, they're doing a lot actually. They actually are. They're the ones responding. So when you see the video of them, of the people directly responding to the protesters, right? That's LAPD. The feds are like the ones surrounding the federal buildings, right? They're protecting those buildings. That's.
I think there's some nuance to this a little bit, and I don't know if like this is what most people are catching up on. Probably not, right? But there is an accusation that Karen Bass took over communication between the LAPD and other organizations, which is like completely violating like their own like command structure during these events, which is slowing down LAPD's ability to respond to different situations, get places. And I mean, if it is true that she did that, I guess
I'm not sure that would be treasonous.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
It might be breaking the law, but I'm not sure if it's treasonous.
Well,
but
treason. Well, I can tell you exactly why it'd be treasonous.
But the pragmatic thing there, right, is that LAPD isn't necessarily doing nothing, but it is hampering LAPD's ability to do their job effectively. And as you know, minutes can be a huge difference in like potential riot scenarios between like calming down a couple of agitators or like them having to defend and hold their line and do nothing because they don't have the numbers yet. And so then mob psychology can very quickly take like one or two people destroying a car, but they can't move from their line because they don't have the numbers to stop those one or two people. And then all of a sudden it becomes a mob that's uncontrollable because someone else is interfering trying to, I don't know if she's trying to get some glory or if she's trying to do it intentionally. If she's trying to do it intentionally to slow down
treason.
LAPD, that would be treason. But if she's just trying to get like the glory of like, I'm in charge or whatever, I don't know that that's necessarily treason. Maybe Admiral Gibbs has more information.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because first of all, Mexico's president has already called for more avid and resistance to be called for happen in LA and other cities. That's basically a call
so
to
did
arms.
fucking Kamala Harris.
Hold on, but hold on. Well, there's an important difference. Kamala Harris is the president. This is the President Scheinbaum of Mexico. This is a foreign power on our southern border calling for Mexican nationals in another country to resist and protest and be violent if needed, right? This is
did she say be violent? Claudia Scheinbaum. No, don't do that.
It's up in the air, man. It's up in the air.
She might have said resist.
If you want to disprove me, you can find this stuff. But she said
because you're saying bullshit now.
That's
I'm saying you're saying bullshit. That she said violent resistance.
I didn't interrupt anybody else.
I'm bullshitting us.
I'm not. Violent resistance. It's extreme resistance.
No, I'm not going to prove the negative. Like you're bullshitting us.
You're proving the negative. I've already made a statement. You can prove the negative. Now here's the point.
I'm saying I'm not proving your negative.
She's already made the statement. She's already made the statement.
Bullshit. She hasn't made the statement.
She's made the statement.
I'm sure she said resist. Right? I can believe that she said resist.
It's a foreign power. Hold on. Let me talk. It's a foreign power.
Real quick. Quote, it must be clear we condemn violence wherever it comes from. Quote, we call on the Mexican community to act peacefully and not fall for provocation.
Yeah, just like listen, okay, Trump didn't ever say anything the first time either.
Okay. So you were wrong. You're wrong, correct? She said the opposite of what you just said.
This is a direct equivalent to the peaceful
hate that commie bitch.
No. Actually, what I'm doing here, Prime, if you're catching on, is I'm making a direct equivalency to January 6th, where y'all are saying, oh, so you're admitting y'all were lying about the peaceful and patriotic thing.
You're lying.
Because this is a direct equivalency. No, I did not. I'm trying to make a point here, and you won't even let me make my point. You just keep interrupting.
I have to deal with that first.
Hold on, Prime. First of all, this is the problem. If you would let me finish a point, then you would know that I wasn't lying, because the whole point that I was going to make was that this is the direct equivalency to President Trump saying peacefully and patriotic, and y'all called this an insurrection and treason. That was going to be my point, but since you interrupted me, as happens regularly, I know that y'all are excited. You have to let people finish points before you can object to them.
Oh my God. Buddy, hold on. You had made the point that I was objecting to. The second part doesn't invalidate that. I gave you plenty of chances to take it back, right?
I didn't take it back. Didn't take it back because you didn't let me finish. You didn't let me finish my point.
No, you keep saying that. Hey, Gibbs.
Literally in the middle of making a point. I'm literally hold on. I never interrupt you when you make all your points.
It's not going to work. It's not going to work. You keep saying, hey, so we just keep interrupting me, right? And then you say some bullshit, right?
How do you know?
How do you know that statement? How do you know? Afterwards, you're like, well,
are you a fortune teller?
How do you know the first statement? How do you know?
Even though you how do you know? This happens all the time. This happens all the time.
I make a point. I have to finish.
Hold on, all the time. Hold on. It's not bullshit, because what happens is when I'm midpoint, you all interrupt, and you specifically you in this case don't let me make my full point, and then you're gonna sit here and go, oh, Gibbs was doing this when I was about to call y'all hypocrites, because hey, guess what? It's the exact same thing. Oh, and you act like this is out of character, because I literally call y'all hypocrites all the time, and this is exactly the point I want to make, was about the hypocrisy stemming from the left. So back to my point. Thank you. She made this comment, which is direct equivalency, that the left has already set the standard. This is inflammatory language. It's the exact same language Trump used, which was going to be my point. Thank you very much. So if this is the standard left wants to use, we have a foreign power making an inflammatory statement in the same manner, then by their own metric, this is a call to war in action. And thus, if Karen Bass is going to sit here and aid these people and allow these people to destroy American citizens' properties while being foreign nationals, that's treason. Not only that, she should also be convicted of charges for being so incompetent during the LA fires. So we're seeing these, and now I'm wondering if it was actual sabotage for a foreign power. She probably softened up LA for this beforehand by overstretching city resources, and now we're allowing to see the full evil, nefarious actions of her game plan. It's crazy. First she depleted the water rivers, then she burned down the air. This might be some nefarious attempt by the Uniparty here to try and take over land. I don't know. It's terrible. It's literally treason in every regard. It's outrageous. And then you're going to sit here and go, oh, it's peaceful patriotism. When we see videos of guys on call, Socialite posted in the group chat and said aura farming. It's a guy holding a Mexican flag while the city burns behind him and cops are going, oh, holy shit.
It's called aura, man. I'm just saying.
It's called terrorism and insurrection.
Well,
That's
the
what
terrorists have a lot of aura. I don't know what you guys keep putting the
terrorists
sickest
have a lot
shots
of
of them
aura.
doing the most insane things.
I'm just saying,
and you want people not to rally behind them.
Well,
I don't fucking know. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, they get the best shots when you have an evil, illegal person that's sitting here working for a foreign power treasonously to help set them up with the biggest
They look like
publicity stuff in
Marvel
America.
villains.
Because Karen Bass is helping to make it look like Marvel villains because she's being inept and just making the police do stuff. It's terrible. I call on you, if y'all the lefties have any integrity, after y'all said all this bullshit about Trump on January 6th with his peaceful and patriotic thing, same thing that Scheinbaum did, by the way. Once again, hypocrites. Thanks, Prime, for interrupting before I can get to
That's
that.
the Mexican president.
Hold on. If y'all are going to hold Trump to this standard, then y'all have to hold the Mexicans to this standard, and specifically Mexican nationals, and do what the president's saying. And we need to hold Karen Bass.
I condemn the Mexican president for making insurrectionist statements at America. I don't fuck. What the fuck? What are we doing? What are we doing? Listen.
I'm just saying it's awful.
Right now, the only thing I heard is that like we're like earlier is that like this is like where you get civil war. Kind of, right? Where you have half of the people that voted, right, that are siding with half of the people that are illegal according to you, right? Where you're siding with half of the people that are illegal according to you. Like, this is how you get, like, do you want the Habibis and the essays to come together? Because this is how you get the Muslims and the Mexicans to kind of just
do you agree whenever your side wins?
Against mass deportation, against racism, all the Semitisms, whatever all the antis, this is what you're going to get, right? It's the rhetoric of, like, I don't care if it's Lupita. You want everyone. Because if you want to consider people
your side
illegals...
wins, it's fine. Hold on. Dr. brought this up. When your side wins... All right, you're perfectly fine. Whatever side you voted for. Okay, when you vote for that side, hold on. Okay, well, then that's your problem. Right? When this one side wins,
not my problem.
Okay, hold on. When the left makes it like wins, right, and they bring back the laws, we don't see mass burning down of cities like we do on the right, right? Like with the right.
Because you guys have no reason to. We're not deporting you.
Right. Okay. Cool. Right. Listen, we don't. It can be for any reason. There's all sorts of reasons. We don't see this activity.
Bring up the reasons why cities are being burnt, right?
Then we come over here. Oh yeah. Okay.
People are saying that there's violence coming from the police towards like black communities. So they fucking rose up and fucking decided to take some type of stance. Now, did it become bad? Yes.
It's always
going to happen when you have people who feel like you're being selected, right? So like right now, who's rioting? Right now, we see political violence coming from the pro-Palestinian side, right? Why is there violence? Is it just because these people are fucking like?
Let me just ask you a question.
There's reasons why there's violence. You don't want to address the reasons, and you just kind of want to
hold on. That's not what's happening. So here's my question. I get where you're coming from, and you're saying we have this moral high ground. I see this as a moral wrong, and then we're taking action, right? Okay, I get that, right? Now, what I'm saying is, by your own metric, if that's true, when the right loses, they have every right to do what you're saying because they're going to go, oh,
what are you writing about? What's the moral wrong that you're writing about?
Okay, I'll just pick a random one.
Pick something.
Okay, let's just say, I don't know, a school decided that all middle school kids would be, I don't know, encouraged to wear pride colors, and
go protest it.
Okay, well, so when they go and decide they're going to burn down the city hall, they're going to burn down the public school like head facility, and they're going to tear up all the neighborhoods. Now, you're going to hold on. You're going to say that's fine because they see this as morally wrong. Oh.
Watch.
Consistent.
This is the hypothetical. I'll engage with the hypothetical. I'm actually really good at engaging with hypotheticals.
Okay.
If there's a school in your district,
hypotheticals. Go ahead. Yeah.
I've done it. Listen, if there's schools in your district, right, and they're like, hey, everyone has to wear a pride shirt in June, right, and the members of that community protest it. And then,
City Hall,
right, protesting is fine. You start with a protest. I'm okay with starting with protest. You don't just go right to fucking burning Capitol Hall, right? You start with a protest. If that protest is met with counter protests, right? BLM starts as a protest. It's met with ALM, right? Now you have counter protests. When things bubble up and they get big enough,
if they ALM counter protest? The fuck are you talking about?
What is
All Lives Matter was like fucking old people on Facebook.
Black Lives Matter.
Where was the counter protest?
But this is insanity. This is literal insanity.
An example, dude. It's not like I'm just saying.
Okay, but your example of a counter protest. Okay, so you mean anybody disagrees? It then means we go further. Is that what you mean by counter protests? Is just any group of people disagree with our protests? Or do you mean like, because when you say counter protests, you mean like clashes and shit, but like there were basically none.
Counter protest doesn't have to mean like necessarily clashes. You can counter protest.
Right, but the way he's using it is like an escalation of things. Like basically the entire media and state apparatus was saying that COVID couldn't be spread by BLM because BLM has this magical property. Unlike you dare going to the gym, you know, you're killing grandma if you go to the gym.
I mean, all I was trying to get to is
like there was basically no counter to BLM. Like they ran rampant on their own.
I'm saying if there's a group of people who feel like their rights are being infringed upon to a point and no one's listening, and you go through certain processes and it gets to the point where even your protests aren't being listened to, and a riot happens, I'm going to be understanding of the riot happening. I'm not going to say it's good. I'm not going to say you should do riots. Riots are bad, right? Like riots do not solve anything. But like for people to just like not have any understanding of why a riot would like arise and just kind of blame it to just like violence for just violence sake is kind of stupid. Like you should
we have a word for that. It's called inconsistency. That's what the word is you're looking for right there. You're not being consistent.
No, it's just the right doesn't have anything to necessarily riot for.
Of course we don't. We don't have anything to riot for.
The big thing. Once again, I don't necessarily know what insurrection even fucking means, so I don't go around like condemning J6ers for doing that. I was like, whatever. I don't personally care about what happened during January 6th, right? Whatever. But if people consider it a riot, they look at what the right felt, or Republicans or MAGA felt like the vote was actually stolen from them, right? It was like, hey, we don't agree with the election results. So then they rioted. And that's kind of, I'm like, all right, if you believe that the election was literally stolen, I mean, I guess I can kind of understand why you'd want to raid a building. That's not like that crazy to me. So like when you're talking to me, like, I don't necessarily, I'm not a big.
Okay, so let's just use January 6th. How many gas stations got burned down on January 6th?
I don't know, probably none. Is that
okay? So here's my question then, right? Like, so if you pay taxes, do you pay taxes? I'm assuming you pay taxes, right? Don't answer if you don't. So we all pay taxes here, right? and like if we're all paying taxes, right? And they come up and you own I don't know, Sociologic's gas station, and everybody in your neighborhood's gas stations get burned down. Hey, listen, whatever. Gas stations. I assume he's such a classy businessman like Amaranth, who owns a bunch. Anyway, I'm just saying that he owns this gas station, and all the gas stations, the CVS's, the Chick-fil-A's, the Walmarts are all getting burned down because people are mad about.
I'd start putting up Mexican flags all over my gas station.
No, but yeah, it's just cool. But they're mad because the taxes got
raised. I'd give out free water to the protesters.
Hold on.
Right? Like I'd support.
Taxes got raised by 3%, and the Republicans are rioting, and they're burning down everything in the neighborhood. Would you like the National Guard to be deployed in front of your gas station to protect it from being burned down by the Republicans? Yeah, you're a liar. You're a liar.
No. You want to know why? You want to know? Because now my community is a community where the fucking Marines are walking around, right? Forgot. I don't know how long, right?
Bro. It's better than you die.
One of a few things has to happen when like the Marines are coming into town, right? Martial law. Everyone has to go home, or we're gonna kick out a lot of fucking people. A lot of people are gonna go into jail, right? My business probably isn't gonna be doing so good. If you were a smart business owner, right? You notice the riots happening, you see the rumblings happening, you put up mad Mexican flags, and you buy cases of water, and you put them outside of your business, and you hand them out to fucking rioters and protesters. Give them a Red Bull if you have to, but then they avoid your business.
They destroyed a Telemundo van. I don't think that plan's working too good.
I don't know. I don't fucking know. Why they blow up the Telemundo van?
Because they're destructive.
Because they're
rioters.
We don't.
They're not good people.
They're insurrectionists, bro. That's why they're terrorists.
Lactoid. I keep looking into this law, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot because you obviously weren't prepared for this. But it doesn't say anything about like making discrimination between federal and state law. It just says exercising it just says domestic laws, executing the laws except in such cases under such circumstances as such employment of said force may be expressly authorized by the Constitution or by act of Congress. So like I'm just like trying to figure out like where does it expressly say that it can do those things? Like the Marines.
I'll have to look through. I know that you can obviously use like federal employees to protect federal employees, right? Like ICE are federal employees, and so if you can send them in, you can also use like other federal assets to protect
Who is ICE? What is ICE like?
It's
is
a
it just some
Immigration
dude that
branch.
gets?
Customs enforcement. What are you talking about?
No, is it just some dude?
It's a federal
like,
agency.
Okay.
ICE are
Are they
federal
like? Are
agents.
these
They're-
like? Are
they
they
go
like
to feds
trained
like
like
anybody
people, or is it just like
Yeah.
security?
It's similar to
No, no.
it's similar to the FBI. Like I don't. The
They
left
go
has
to
this
the
new.
security.
These are
No,
trained people.
Yeah, like the left. The
Yeah,
left
no.
has this like new weird thing where like I guess they do this shit where they just kind of throw out things hoping that like something will go viral with the collectivist left, because they'll kind of just latch on to any bullshit if it like matches the vibes. But like one of the new things they're doing on social media is pretending like ICE agents are like these kindergarten mall cop people as well as like Nazis.
I thought that's what
And
it
it's
was,
like
yeah.
they're
I don't know. If
yeah, no, they're like they're not as well trained as, let's say, field agents in the FBI, but like they're federal
Are they, like,
agents.
better
Like, they're
trained
going
than
to
cops?
be better. Yeah, they're better
Well, they have
trained
to go
than
to
like your typical
FLETC,
police officer.
just like every
Yo,
FBI agent.
Once again, I actually don't know, and I was just asking
I'm
because I
getting a
know
robot thing too.
FBI. Like, what the
Yeah.
fuck? How am I supposed to know that they're akin to
Let's
FBI
see.
agents? I didn't fucking know that.
Yeah,
In my mind, they were just kind of security guards that got round up. I don't know.
No. They're actual federal agents. They go to FLETC. They have to go through selection. They have to do all of those same things.
I'm gonna
Oh,
leave
no
and rejoin.
different.
I'm getting a robot.
I'm getting a robot. Am
You're
I
not
roboting?
roboting
I'm not
me.
getting.
You're
I'm not
fine, you're
getting
fine.
anything.
I think it's something with Discord because we're all having problems. on and off.
Yeah. Oh, let me
No.
pull him back in.
Yeah, as far as the Marines go, I mean, I'm not sure about the Marines because you're going to get some Lance Corporal that's been out in the fucking desert raking rocks for the last 6 months. He's going to be jacked up on Monster and have like a row of Zen in his lip, and somebody's going to say something to him, and he's going to light it off. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah,
I missed something, but Marines are usually better than cops and other people at de-escalation techniques.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
because they
don't
call it
know. I
the
mean-
bombs.
It's a great thing.
know.
Hey, listen, you either stop or I blow your ass up.
So like, okay, my question is, do you see a world where the protests and the riots like lessen, or do you see them as ramping up? And like, what's the response? Are we just going into martial law for all the towns that we're going to be raiding to get to get these criminals out? Like, we want 20 million
There's
people
no
out.
martial law being declared.
I know. Yeah. Well, obviously, yeah. But like, if the Marines are coming into town, right? Like, and things escalate, you would assume things are going to only get like worse, right? Like, I don't think it's going to get better.
Look, this is a symbolic thing, okay? Because obviously Obama, obviously Trump is not deporting at very high levels, right? Like many Republicans are rightfully, I guess, if you subscribe to might makes right like you do and everyone else but me on the panel does, right? Rightfully, upset that Trump isn't doing the level of deportations that he promised, right? Because he's not even close to Obama's numbers. Like people voted for mass deportations. They are not getting mass deportations at all. I'm against mass deportations, obviously, but like this is a symbolic thing. This has become a Trump goes into California and he's ramped up the deportations a little bit in terms of symbolically, right? In numbers, he's not ramped anything up, but he's moving in on people that have evaded immigration courts and things like that. Things that you would consider non-violent crimes, but are certainly violations of immigration laws in our country beyond just coming here, right? But he's not going after the people that came in under the Biden administration and got the CPB app on their phone.
No,
he's going after people that have been evading.
It's a bit more than that. It's a bit more than that, right? So we've seen a pattern of ICE going after people going to court, so like showing up to an immigration hearing, a federal immigration hearing.
And yeah, that shit happened under Obama all the time.
This
isn't anything new.
They go in and
that's how that works.
They go no, that's not how this works. Like
it's been working that way.
I don't know why the whole.
Let me finish the thing. Let me just finish the thing, and they can respond to it, right? So
there you go. Tell them
they go into their court, right? For their court date. And then the ICE, the federal government, whoever that representative is, I'm not exactly sure who, they dismiss the case immediately. And then as they're leaving, then they're grabbed.
Yeah, this happened tons of times under Obama administration.
Yeah,
and part of the argument under the Obama administration was that because the court, because they were, especially people that were going to like federal courts, they were like, well, even in your sanctuary city, we have jurisdiction here because now you've shown up to a federal court hearing. So now we aren't technically violating your sanctuary city thing because they showed up to immigration court in a federal court, which then they were like, this isn't a violation of your sanctuary city things. Now, again, this isn't anything new at all. It's just the outrage is new, and it's the outrage from the left that's new on this. Now, again, I'm not for mass because it's fucking.
Because more people know about it, and because people there's probably people more politically engaged this time around versus when Obama was around, and all these things. Right? It's not just like because people were okay with it when Obama was doing it, and they're not okay with it. Right? Because I mean,
I will agree. Yeah, I will agree. I will agree that 2010. Listen, I will agree. Hold on. Right? No, yeah, you're interrupting, but like, I will agree that 2010 is a different world than 2025. Like, I'm not disagreeing with you on that, right? I will agree that social media has made things more public and more people are seeing things, and that is part of it. Is that it tended to be 10, 15 years ago that only the most politically engaged people were aware of a lot of things. But at the same time, right, Obama was clearly was named by the media and by many people that were upset the porter in chief. And now we have a Democratic administration just before Trump that is bringing in more immigrants. Like, we don't know because it's hard to know when you kind of have an open border and you're not funding people and you're fighting Texas from protecting the border and you're fighting Arizona from protecting the border. But definitely bringing in more immigrants relative to population and in absolute numbers than any other president in a single term ever. And so again, the hypocrisy is a serious problem here, and it's just the current thing, but it is a symbolic move by the president. The reason he's bringing in the Marines, the reason he's bringing in things is that he's saying, no, this is what people were voted for, fuck you, back down. Whether or not that's good or bad, like, you know what I mean? Like, obviously you have my opinion and others have their opinion as well. And my opinion is the right one, but it is less about the actual raids themselves and more about like, we're not backing down just because you guys want to riot and burn shit. Like, we're going to get this mission done. Of course, he's not doing it very effectively.
So,
right. Well,
just one quickly, and then I'll go straight to you. Could you give me a source on this Obama thing? Now, I'm not calling you a liar.
I mean, I can find one, but I lived through it.
Yeah, to be clear, I'm not calling you a liar or anything, right? It's just that I haven't seen this. And I know Obama was like deported in chief. Obama deported a fuck ton of people, and he was awful because of it. Fuck Obama. Another reason why I say fuck Obama. But I just haven't seen this particular thing. So if you could provide me that, then that would help me give further context to this current moment. I'd appreciate it. All right, let's go to our friend Grid.
Yeah. So just to kind of also address some of the things that Scott said is Trump is really doing this to draw more attention to the fact that he is deporting people, because there for a while we didn't know that he was at all, and he was doing all of the if you leave voluntarily, we'll pay you and all of this, which was not really helping his image with the base, if you will, and while Obama actually targeted people who were not necessarily in violation, as Scott kind of illustrated, that they would go, or Kai's actually, you kind of illustrated, where they would go to court, the case would get dismissed or continued or whatever, and ICE would catch them on their way out and deport them. Trump is being very targeted and almost surgical in how he's deporting people. I don't know why. Honestly, it's a new look for him. It could just be the people under him are doing it this way because that's the way they want to do it. But they're only targeting people who are felons, who have actual outstanding deportation orders, and or are here provably illegally, and they're not just going willy-nilly after people harvesting lettuce in Kansas. That's not what's happening. which has happened before, and where most of the criticism of deportations come is deporting those people. So he's going after the gangs. He's going after the criminals and the people who need to go away. And the fact that you guys can't get behind that and see that for what it is astounding to me. It's like it's beyond TDS, right? It's beyond anything I've actually seen. And the fact that and it's just a fact that you should honestly, this should be an issue that Trump does that you should all be behind, because he is being the most surgical, the most precise in deportations of any president in recent history. And he's getting a lot of complaints from his own party about it, because we would rather him just do the boxcars, right? I mean, to be honest, a lot of us would.
I'm not gonna lie, this just sounds like Hosborough. It just sounds like Hosborough for Trump. You guys just took IDF talking points and applied them. He's the most surgical. He's dropping pamphlets before he deports them. Like, we're gonna get
Lactoid, would you prefer boxcars?
They literally already have deportation orders.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Lactoid, who's pretty pro-Trump, was an ad. Like,
look,
people on the boxcars ain't good.
Thing to say.
That's a pretty awful thing. That's like, I mean, that's one of the most disgusting things. Yeah, put them in the boxcars, send them out. You want to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to send them to Auschwitz.
It was fun. It was fun the last time we did. Yeah, the government should load people on the boxcars and send them out of the country. Right? It was great the last time that happened. Right? A really smart guy came up with that. Worked out well. Sure. All right. Well, anyway, back to what I was saying before. Go ahead. You guys can argue.
Yeah. So like, Grid, do you think? Okay. So it's just like, you're saying that he's surgically removing these people. It's just like the problem is that, like, most people don't believe that, right? I don't know how you show recurrence, because like even Lactoid, who, like, once again, it's not he wasn't like MAGA headstrong, right? But like even he came on, who like and was like, hey, I'm not necessarily pro this. If they were doing it more surgically, I'd be like for it, but it doesn't seem like they're doing that. So like, how do you contest with that? Someone who is voted for this, wanted this, but is also disagreeing with you.
Yeah, because the facts are the facts. The facts are that the people that they're deporting are people who actively have deportation orders. That means they've gone to court. That means they've shown up, and a judge somewhere has said, "Get out of the country, kid. You don't belong here." Okay?
Why didn't they deport him right there and then?
I don't know. You can ask the courts. Our court system is not the best, to be honest with you.
Does anyone on the immigrant side have a counter to that? I don't necessarily have a counter to say that they're not doing this surgically, right? I don't believe it, and that's kind of my that's bias.
Well, you don't have to believe it.
I'm asking for a counter if there is, right? Like, are they doing this surgically? Is it true, or is it Fabian and Scott both said Lupita were getting kicked out?
From what I understand, like, they're like rated. Going to a Home Depot doesn't sound surgical to me, but that's just like my subjective opinion.
Yeah, no, they made it so like the claim was that, and after that I would go straight to our friend Gibbs. The claim was by the Trump administration originally was that we're gonna go after the criminals, right? Basically, what our friend Scott was saying before, right? Like, we're gonna go after Chende Aragua. And then, but they expanded it past that, right? Like, as people predicted, that wasn't the scope of the limiting scope of what they were doing. They're going after people who are innocent, completely innocent, who only have a immigration violation, which does not make them a criminal. We have to tell conservatives this all the time. That actually doesn't make them a criminal. They didn't violate the criminal code. They violated it's a civil violation. They're not criminals. If all they did was coming to the country illegally. And even then, among those people, there might be those who came without undocumented, but like have gotten themselves or in the asylum process or have some other protected status. And those things are being revoked now, right? So protected status is being revoked. And then those people are now up to, the people who lost that status are now up for removal. So like, these aren't criminals. Not criminals, who I'm discussing, aren't criminals, but they're up for removal as well. So no, this is not surgical, absolutely not. But go ahead, Gibbs, please.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say put them on the boxcars. Let's just go with that. But I do feel like
Gibbs won't go that far. Amazing.
I feel like that's bad optics. Maybe we give them parachutes and we shoot them out of a plane or something. I don't fucking know. But
buses.
Yeah, buses. I don't know. Well. I thought I froze for a second there. My bad. I I do know that I'm one of the more extreme on this panel in regards to the immigration. Because it is immigration. It's home to me. It's home to me. I've had friends die in the cartels. I've had whatever. And like, okay, I'll even grant. Let's even say I'll grant what Prime is saying with the. Oh, did I freeze?
No, you're good.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So like, I'll even grant what you're saying with like,
You did freeze.
you know, it's a.
Okay, yeah, but we can still hear you.
Ruh-roh.
Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, so like I'll even grant what you're saying with, hey, these people are, you know, are civil, you know, whatever, not actually whatever. I would prefer them starting with, you know, I don't know, like the Abrigo Garcias or whatever, this guy that's got like 100 fucking criminal charges that's coming up apparently, right? Like that's a good guy to start with. Let's start with those guys. Sure, and I actually think there is something to be said for what Grid's saying. I don't know that y'all like memeing, oh, he pulled up at Home Depot. Yeah, what do you think these guys work? Like they're outside. These people, yeah, they might be like on here for charges, but a lot of these guys got day jobs. I don't know if you know any like people that are like actual gangsters. A lot of them have day jobs, and then they do hood shit at the evenings or hood shit when they're free, or they sell stuff out or whatever. Like, I mean, if you have actual charges, like, cool, let's go and get those people. But what's happening is we don't know even what some of these people have, like, or whatever, because they're just in the process of arresting them, and we're getting cars attacked, and they go, oh, well, hey, this is an unmarked car. That's sus. That's Gestapo. Like, well, okay, why are they doing that? Well, they're doing that because if you pull up with a border patrol car, they're gonna run. Like, I mean, it's like, it's obviously, it's just obvious. I don't know how else you describe this. Like, you're really like, oh, we're going to get them. And you pull up and you get a border patrol. And then, oh, now these people are throwing rocks at us. Now these people are attacking us. And they're like, oh, well, they pulled up in this car. Oh, this is just Gestapo time. It's just blatant hypocrisy and bullshit, and anybody that's in America can like see this. And this is why, like, I'm saying this is a bad issue for the Dems to die on this hill on. Like 54%, you know, we keep talking about this 46% that thinks that there's morally justified, whatever, but 54% of people are saying, hey, shit's got to change. This is literally what he campaigned on. He's implementing it, you know, and going about it. And now, since he's going about it, the idea is, oh, we're going to riot, and we're going to just frame everything so badly that if you try to argue about this with anybody, suddenly the next response is boxcars. I don't know. It's concerning. It's concerning.
He said boxcars. To be clear, I haven't heard Trump say boxcars yet. That's we're going to leave that to our friend Grid here.
So I just want to clarify something that was said earlier before. The reason why you could have a deportation order and not just like get deported right from the court hearing is you could have a deportation order come down later after your court date. You could also have a lot of people simply not show up to their court date, which is relatively among, you know, this group of people relatively common. And so they're just,
they aren't assigned deportation, right? Like they weren't. It's like if you don't show up to your court date,
it's something like 80%.
Well, no, you can get a deportation.
They actually regularly do show up to the court dates. Now, not that they all do every time.
My understanding is
but
first
more
time.
than they don't. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. Well, I think it's first time court date, right? But then I don't think it's 80% for the ones after that.
First time court date, 80%. Okay, well then I haven't seen that. If you have more detailed statistics, when you can, whenever we can.
Sure.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's going to be some mix of people who get a deportation order following their court date that they do show up for, or it's going to get some mix of people who just never show up to their court date, which maybe it's only 20% don't show up for their first one. I think if there's like starting like second or third one, I think the percentages from what I've heard do grow, but I'll look into that. And so that's normally what's going to happen, right? And so at that point, they have a valid deportation order, and they just they can't be found. Until, of course, ICE finds them and deports them.
Okay. So yeah. So I think the raids. So I haven't actually said anything, right? So I guess I'll try to take a stand here. I think it's perfectly within the legal rights of anyone to protest anything. And so when we're talking about the raids that were happening or rumored to happen, my understanding was that they were happening, like the information was correct as to what ICE was about to do, but maybe that was just a rumor. I don't know. But in any case, it makes sense that they should be able to protest that, to show up, and to even interfere, right? Now, if you interfere, you face consequences. But at very least, one protesting should be able to protest. And if you want to interfere, like I've seen people stand the way, right, of ICE getting through. And like ICE now has to remove them. You link your arms or something, and then they have to remove them to get to your target, right? Anything you can do to slow down the machinery of this brutal regime, then yeah, you should do that. If you're, of course, willing to pay the consequences, because you might get arrested for doing that. So I think all that is fair game. Now, do I support the violence that's happening, the out-and-out violence? No, I don't support that. I think it's kind of funny what's happening to Waymo, where they're, in case you guys aren't following that part of the story, they are calling Waymos, right, the taxi service, the robot taxi service, to the protest, and then just burning them. They're destroying them.
Waymo pulled out now. Yeah, Waymo pulled their people out now too. They're not allowing
people,
them to
there are no people. There are no people to pull out. That's the thing. That's why
well, they're pulling their. I mean, they're pulling their car. Yeah,
They stopped operating.
that makes
I
sense.
looked up the ICE training. ICE agents just go to it's a specialized training thing for it's like 12 to 24 weeks of training to like become an ICE agent. I don't know if it's like you guys are kind of making them seem like FBI.
I think that's all. I think that's a larger problem with law
Wait,
enforcement.
that's 3 months to 2 years.
Yeah, like, what are you talking about?
That's like pretty on par with like police training, right?
Let me make sure I got the
more than-
numbers
it's
right because
longer
I am a
than
little
police training.
I am a little dyslexic sometimes. Just want to make sure I got
like boot
got
camp
those
for the
numbers
army.
right.
Boot camp for the army is like.
Oh, I'm
12
sorry.
weeks.
12 to 24
And
weeks.
that's for like
12 to
infantry.
24 weeks, not months. Sorry, I am
like
illiterate sometimes.
No, like
You may have said that.
But like,
and
if
I'm-
you go
maybe I
like
missed it.
basic training for the army is like 10 weeks. For the Marine Corps, it's 13 weeks, right? So what you're saying is, bro, all they do is double the training that a soldier goes through in basic training, right? Like,
Yeah,
like,
but basic
obviously
training.
basic training is
Wait. Basic training doesn't. It's like prepare you for deportations and also like. These are that's not enough training to sit here and say like we're gonna have a deportation and then compare them to the FBI, right? And liken them to the FBI.
On.
That's what you were doing is likening them to FBI agents. Which I was like,
hold on.
these do seem more like
I literally said.
Wait. FBI.
What do you mean? This is security guards?
FBI training apparently is like 16 to 20 weeks.
Wait, yeah. So wait, I just want to know how many weeks do you need to learn?
Quantico is still is like a little bit less or roughly the same depending upon what you're doing than ICE.
Becoming a cop like 9 months.
No, FLETC takes it's like 12 to 24 weeks, but that's literally just to become hireable. Then you go to your specific training. It's not one training. It's not like you go to FLETC and you come out and you're junior G-man 1000.
Yeah, but calling them like FBI agents isn't like that. This
is silly. This is like a silly hill to die on. The left
it's I don't really think I'm dying on it. I'm just like it's just like I don't know if like
they're comparable. They're federal
training.
agents. They go through a similar training. Now, yes, you have special FBI agents, right, where they do like crazy shit, right? But you also have different groups that do different things in ICE, right? Like in ICE, you're gonna have some
Quantico, right? That's like the whole thing.
Yeah, but like some people at ICE, some people, it's just like the CIA, right? Like think about it this way: there are a ton of people that work at the CIA that have. Listen, there are a ton of people at the CIA that just have desk jobs and they do like intel analyst shit. And they still work for the CIA, but they still have to go through this training. The same thing is true with ICE. But some people people at ICE are just going to be HR.
I'm just saying
people.
I could become an ICE agent tomorrow. It's not like
no, you can't. You'd go to a 12 to 24 week course just to be hireable. And then if you wanted to be an ICE agent that was like carrying a gun and like going on raids in a restaurant, you'd have to go through several other months and you'd have to go through like combat training and you'd have to go through the shooting range and you have to qualify. You'd have to go through fitness tests. Like, listen, I'm not saying that like ICE are fucking Army Rangers or Navy SEALs or fucking Marine Force Recon. Okay.
They're not
This is so
security.
dumb. This is so dumb. They are not security guards. This is
Security
just
guards don't
this
get
is
training
just
at
the
all.
left
What are you talking
trying to make
They're
fun
Doge
of
employees.
You got to get
It's silly.
certified.
Yeah, it takes watching a video. Come on, get out
They
of here.
won a lottery and now they're ICE agents. That's how
I'm
that
just
works.
saying, it takes 9 months to become a massage
yeah,
therapist.
I
I think
took
it
an
should
online course.
take a little bit longer to become an
Um,
ICE agent. I don't know.
It does.
So I
Just to
think
become hireable, it takes you 20.
I think law enforcement in general, right? This is not directed at ICE specifically, but domestic law enforcement agents in general should have a lot more, should have years of training rather than what we have. Like we see that in other countries, they have years of training beforehand. Some of them require them to have a bachelor's degree. That might be too much for us. We might not be able to afford that because we just have too many cities,
Well,
too many
I mean,
jurisdictions.
for most federal agents, most federal agents, not all, but most, right? You have to pass a battery of tests just to be considered. Depending on the agency, they're all different, but just to be considered. Once you're accepted as a candidate, there's no guarantee of a job. You go to FLETC. You pass. If you pass, which not everybody does because it's hard, then you go to your individual agency and you receive some specific training depending on what job you're going to do. If you're going to be an investigator in the FBI, well, you're going to get some science classes. You're going to get, you're going to follow an agent around for a while and that kind of thing. I don't know what all. The FBI is really unclear about what their training is, but I actually have one of their old training manuals somewhere around here. But this is not. It takes years. It can take years just to be hired.
Scott, I'll look
Just
at
to
your. I'll look at your link. I'm going to read that.
I was having a hard time finding stuff just because Google is fucking trash. Even when you do the year thing, like AI sent me articles, but then I couldn't find the archives or whatever. I need more time to look into it more. But that's I found something right from the Obama administration, and it was like the letter that Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton signed condemning Obama, like while they were running for election and stuff. And in that, there are witnesses talking about ICE showing up to their court hearings to immediately deport them when they had like other, when they had other court hearings and DUI courts and things of that nature. But like I said, I need more time, but I lived through it. Hopefully Grid can back me up because he's old enough to have lived through it too. They were definitely showing up at courthouses and arresting people during the Obama administration.
What I want specifically is immigration court. But again, I'm not trying to call you a liar. I'm just like, I hadn't heard this and I'm looking for it. But yeah, I know, like, I'm asking a lot of you to like find this.
Yeah, what I'm saying this is like, this isn't the best article. Like there's watch other things have paywalls, and so finding articles from 2015 and 2016 behind the paywall while I'm live on stream is a pain in the ass. But yeah, at least in this article without a paywall from 2016, they're talking about people showing up for DUI hearings, and ICE is there at their DUI hearing to
it's similar. It's similar to what we're talking about. Yeah, at the very least. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing that was significant under the Trump administration, right, that wasn't per se common under the Obama administration, and this isn't occurring now, but this was occurring during Trump's first presidency, is like they were showing up to domestic violence hearings to deport people, and like there was like are people going to be afraid to call out their abuser because they're worried about being deported? And it's like, if you're a statist and you believe in the will of democracy, then, you don't really have a leg to stand on here because that is the will of the people to deport people that are illegal under the Trump administration. But if you're like based and you have moral principles like a libertarian, then like you can say like there's a real issue here with like people showing up to domestic violence to report abusers and then being arrested by ICE. I don't remember that being a thing under the Obama administration.
You can say that like there's a will of the people, and like as a matter of like the functioning of government, the government should follow the will of the people. But it can also be a problem, right? The will of the people can be utterly wrong, right? Like people could have voted for something.
Well, there's a contradiction because you believe might makes right. You believe that the people can lose in their ability to have their rights violated and taxes and things of that nature. If you believe in democracy or liberal democracy, right, you believe in might makes right. So you believe that force is always justified against a weaker opponent.
I don't necessarily believe that at all. You've been stating that, but I don't want to get distracted with that. I'm just saying that you can. All right. You know what? We're gonna just disagree on that.
Yeah.
So let's go to. I think Gibbs might have had his hand up before, and then we'll go to Lactoid. Did you have your hand up, Gibbs? I didn't want to skip you.
No, you can be after Lactoid. Though,
Okay.
If you want.
Lactoid.
All right. Well, it's good because mine's very temporally relevant. Question for Corey, real quick. Using Scott's example of the domestic abuse victim who doesn't want to testify because they might get deported. With this person, would you say that they're doubly responsible because not only did they choose to be with the domestic abuser,
Oh my God, you brought it back.
but they also did so while being an illegal immigrant? I mean, such a dumb decision, right?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, all right. You get what I'm referencing?
Nice.
Yeah, I know you tried to tie it to the original.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'm just
no
really
obligation. No obligation.
No obligation. Okay.
I guess bringing it back a little bit to what we kind of discussed. I'm really struggling with this concept of like, I'm not going to go do the Fabian route here that you just did, where it's like the might makes right thing. But I am confused.
Well,
with
you
this idea.
you unironically like say
I
that.
know.
Like you're kind of base for that.
I know, I know that, but I want to talk.
You bite the bullet.
Listen, I agree with you on that part. I just want to take this a different route a little bit, though, right? So whenever we do here have this idea that okay, one side loses, they get to make the laws, and then the other side wins, they get to make the laws, they enforce it, and like okay. So let's just grant the world that sociologic and Prime have kind of like talked about where you can protest whatever, yada yada, right? And I'm gonna go further with like more with sociologics argument, like oh well, these people are wronged, they feel wrong, they should like fight. Now I remember coming on these panels with I think almost everybody here except maybe Grid, and being told how crazy it was that Texas. Who all voted for their people, decided they were going to put their troops to stop the government from coming and like tearing down the walls that the state had built to stop the immigration. Now, they were sitting here following these laws, and I heard, oh, this is crazy, this is outrageous. I heard from a lot of people here, I think, about how that was just outrageous. And then now, like, instead of like a group of people that were elected by their constituents, which at least Texas is, y'all want to do this double standard and suddenly go, states' rights, Governor Newsom is this saintly guy, and Karen Bass is just fantastic, wonderful people for their guiding these people.
I don't know who either of these people
this is what you're doing. This is what you're doing, though, sociologically.
The governor of California and the mayor of LA.
No. Like,
you're doing this.
I'm more speaking on the people on the ground, not
on the ground. Fine, that's fine.
Governor.
But you're arguing that saying, hey, one of these is morally justified because I agree with it, right? However, if we're in this world where one side loses, then you don't have any justification to sit here and go poo-poo when Texas is trying to like do whatever they want to do after we voted these constituents in. What?
Gibbs, did either me, Ali, or Corey even mention Cory Booker, or sorry, not Corey, Gavin Newsom, Gavin Newsom or Karen Bass, right? Only the conservatives here have mentioned them.
I understand that. I understand. No,
okay.
That's not what I'm arguing. I'm arguing like more towards
this is the leadership. Like
yeah,
why
that's
would
the leadership.
Not be relevant?
Yeah, that's why I'm thinking I think they are leading. I think they're leading the coordinated movement. That's part of it. Y'all can put.
They're not relevant to like me.
But what I'm saying is what you're saying, even at the local.
They're relevant to the topic.
Yeah,
but
they're
not relevant to the topic. I'm saying we didn't mention them. Go ahead.
I have mentioned them several times, but what I'm bringing it back down to the local level, like what you're talking about, sociology. I'm saying that it's hypocrisy for them to turn around and go, "Oh, we're going to riot, we're going to destroy these things, and we're going to say we're morally justified." And it's like, "Oh, our morals are superior to yours after we voted these people in." And that's what are supposed to be determining are. Like, that's what a democracy is. That's kind of what Fabian's arguing with the might makes right argument here, is we are agreeing with our social construct that when a new group takes power, that we're going to allow them to make decisions partially based on how they define morality. And if their defined morality is, hey, we want to enforce border laws, and you're going to sit here and riot, well, and then turn around and simultaneously like, oh, well, the guys doing it on the other side when they're fighting the government are bad. That's literal hypocrisy. I would have to say the guys doing it on the other side were bad. Like, I don't necessarily think January 6th was that big of a deal. So, like, I understand why it was a big deal, and the fact that like insurrection, the big words, and the like so on and so forth. Like, I understand why it happened. I'm not like it's not that crazy. Do you have a problem with that?
I'm sorry.
Do you remember having a problem when Texas sent the Texas National Guard to fend off federal agents down at the border and stop them from tearing down property? Do you remember when how y'all were like, "Oh, I'm against that"? You said
I don't
we were just being
necessarily think I
crazy.
would be against that. I don't know.
But you were against that. We were on panels here. Y'all both.
And you know I was against this.
I need Corey. I need
Here
Corey
spoke
to
against it.
with his fucking memory to come in here and tell me whether or not
Every one of y'all
sociologic
spoke
was
against
for
this.
against
I
that.
need
You can we can do this later. I actually don't know that I would be against that. It doesn't seem like something that I have.
Well,
any
then you're, at
objection
least
against.
then you're consistent. I mean, Prime, were you against it?
Could you repeat it, please? I'm sorry.
Do you see? I don't see any fundamental difference if we're going to sit here and say how y'all are gonna, like when Texas has elected officials and they send the Texas National Guard to enforce the border, and the U.S. government comes in with federal agents and tries to stop them, and it ends peacefully. I see that as fundamentally justified, at least because the local people elected these people, and it's government versus government. Now, what we're having over here is government, local and foreign nationals are all involved in a coordinated effort to destroy property, and y'all are sitting here with this logic, social logic, making the argument earlier. It's like, hey, we're going to sit here and go, hey,
We haven't
because
substantiated that.
This well, he said this part earlier. He said these people morally feel justified in doing so, but whenever it's on the other foot, suddenly, we don't believe in states' rights.
I said right.
It's
So-
moral hypocrisy.
So if I think the conversation that you were referring to previously was the whole thing where Texas was putting up the containers, right? The shipping containers, and then whereas like they put in the water the buoys with like the razor blades in between them.
Part of it. That was one time.
That's
We
one of
had
the
several
big
times.
And the
parts, right?
razor blades. That's
Yeah,
a different
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, there were
Oh,
razor
is it?
blades in the water.
It's different
like
from
in the,
destroying
like the Rio
somebody's
Grande
business.
or whatever, right? And so
I
like,
agree.
people were trying
I
to
agree. One's
get
way
across,
worse.
like they were slicing themselves on there, right? So specifically
take-
with that,
Wait, hold on. One of those is a passive action. So someone has to swim and slice over themselves to like do something illegal, right? Versus, which is just a wall, it's a buoy with razor blades. So I would actually have to actively swim and do that.
Listen,
and
man,
it
if
would be-
protesters were
it's-
walking
hold
around
on,
with chainsaws, I'd have a
hold on,
problem
versus,
with it, okay?
Versus I own a business and a protester
and
destroys
cops
it,
would have to
and you're
run into
justifying
the
that.
the cops would have to run to the chainsaw,
Well,
right?
no, I think
Yeah,
I think there's a
I mean, you're
I think
being
there's a-
silly,
I think
but like
there's
there's a real argument here. Like, go ahead.
Admiral, I think there's a much better example of the hypocrisy here, right? Like, obviously, I've given my argument in terms of public versus private, and federal agents versus civilians and property, right? But I just find it interesting that when January 6th happened, the left was also happy for the rights of habeas corpus to be denied for many of the people that were arrested under J6. They were also happy that they were isolated from other members of the prison. They were all saying, throw the book at them for the insurrection. We've got to make sure that these violent insurrectionists go to jail for years and years and years. They were so happy
those
to see
people
the
here?
QAnon shaman arrested.
Are they with us right now? Who are you talking to?
Our prime guys, are you going to
use
say
that
that
example.
you
That's
were
why I didn't use that
against
example,
them
Fabian.
going to
Don't
jail?
ever say that I was for suspending habeas corpus. I never said that. I have never said that. Never.
Well, you're right. I don't believe that you
Right, pick the
specifically did.
specific
Other
example
people
I
did.
did.
I
That's
said
why I
the
picked that
left.
example.
I didn't name you, but
Okay.
but I started with, were you for these people being jailed for a significant period of time
Being
for January 6th?
Initially, probably, yeah.
specific. To be clear,
Yeah.
specifically the violent ones, right? Who were destroying the Capitol. Not necessarily everybody, but the violent ones who were doing that particular group. Yes, absolutely. But
Okay,
like
yeah, of course.
Okay.
So you would
They should get their
what metric?
rights.
By what metric do you believe the January 6th protesters that were violent towards public property and potentially police officers, by what metric do you think they belong in jail?
What metric? Because they were.
Why do they belong in
violent
jail?
Destroying, because of the being violent and destroying that property. Yeah.
And
Okay,
violence
so
against
so
police
what
officers.
level, right? So what level, like, what is the proper
Good thing
sentence
this example.
for someone that attacked a police officer and injured a police officer at the January 6th incident? What do you think? What do you, in your
Whatever.
opinion?
It's
years.
How many
in my
years?
opinion, I don't know, 5 years, whatever.
2 years.
5 years. Okay, so would you agree that every violent protester that's fighting against ICE right now that injures a police officer or injures LAPD or injures an ICE
Yeah,
agent
I would. Hold on.
Yeah.
also should be in jail for
Yes,
5 years?
But That's my thing. You guys have never let me actually get to my point out here.
No, I'm asking. I'm asking questions, and then you're giving answers.
Okay,
I'm not interrupting you right now. I'm asking.
Okay.
Do you think they should go to jail for at least 5 years?
Yeah. Like I said previously, right? I said like you can protest. Just peacefully protesting should be able to do that anytime, right? You can interfere, but then if that's the case, you should be prepared for any consequences. I never even said injure, but if you do injure, well, certainly you got to go to jail. Yeah,
of course. So now absolutely. So you believe that violent protesters that injure police officers in protests should be jailed. Let's say 5 years is your standard, give or take. Obviously, some people like throwing a rock and it accidentally hits a cop's riot shield, and you like, I got a sprained elbow. Not the same thing, right? But assuming that's what we're talking, right. So then moving forward, do you believe that Trump, when he's in Trump's speech, was responsible in part of January 6th? Do you believe Trump holds culpability for January 6th occurring?
Thank you for trying to do my point from earlier. I appreciate that.
Is Trump responsible at all for January
6th? I'm trying to formulate my answer here. I think so for two reasons, right? One, for the speech he gave beforehand, and two, because when he was specifically told, right, when his aides came and let him know what the situation is, like from the reports, he did not like act immediately, right? He just like let it simmer, like there was a danger, and then he just go ahead.
Okay, so he failed to act appropriately, and in your opinion, like I don't necessarily agree that that's exactly how
you don't have to agree. Yeah,
but let's just assume that those are the facts, right? Sure. Failure to act in the appropriate amount of time, and because of the speech at all. Do you think the speech has any influence on this as well?
I said so as well.
Right. So in the speech where he condemns violence and says don't do violence, but also he's agitating and saying like they stole the election, etc. So by your own standards, you would absolutely say what punishment do you think, assuming he wasn't the current president of the United States, right? Let's assume someone else won the 2024 election, right? And let's assume he's not the current president, because I think that would obviously change how you view punishment of things. Let's assume he's just a civilian right now.
Sure.
Right? What punishment do you think would be befitting of that crime?
I don't
Donald
know.
Trump, what should happen?
Yeah. So specific. So then we'd have to ignore the second part, being that like he didn't take an action, because obviously he's not.
No, I mean right now. Right, like no, he didn't take action is all baked in. But let's assume in 2024 now, right? He's no longer the president. He loses the election in 2024. He doesn't come back to be our current president.
I'm not sure that he should be punished necessarily, because like this would be closer to stochastic terrorism in terms of that speech, and like I don't like we were talking about, was it last week? About like a range of responsibilities here. No, I was talking to someone else about that, but a range of responsibility, like a spectrum, right? I don't know if he's far enough in that spectrum that he should necessarily be punished for that.
So you think Donald Trump shouldn't be punished in any way, shape, or form for his actions?
I think he should be condemned.
Socially, right? Socially, he's probably gonna.
Yeah, but I don't know if he should be
it's
legally.
It's fine. It's fine. If you like, that's fine, right? Like we can apply that logic to the current people that are saying no violence, and then like kind of doing things, and Karen Bassett is actively abetting or hampering in some way, doing a bad job and getting involved. If you want to take that logic, that's fine, so long as I have you on the record that you believe absolutely that Donald Trump should face no legal action whatsoever for January 6th. That you think he was morally bad in some ways, but he deserves no legal action.
Sure. I like I've said, I think I'm not taking a hard stance. I could be convinced otherwise. But like, as I
don't weasel out now.
I'm not. I promise I'm not weaseling. Our
opinions can be changed by additional evidence.
Yeah. But to be clear, right? Like what I'm.
But in this current moment, you are against legal action against Donald Trump, even if he wasn't the president.
Yeah. We have a spectrum of stochastic terrorism, right? Of encouraging violence. At some point, I think, I don't know where that line is. At some point, I think you may be crossover, and you might have more legal responsibility for encouraging a crowd. Like get that guy. But like I don't think, as far as I can tell, that Trump crossed that line. I can be convinced otherwise, but as of now, yes, I don't believe that he should face legal consequences for that.
Yeah, no, I mean that's fine. I mean, we don't have to go into the next thing because you believe Donald Trump shouldn't be prosecuted even if he wasn't president. I feel like that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, Karen, like for if you know you give me statements from Karen Bass or from Gavin Newsom, like encouraging violence or something like that, like encouraging law breaking, I could be convinced that they might have.
I think it's a similar situation, right? Where they're saying like we condemn violence, violence is bad, and then they're like, but I support the protesters fighting and their freedom of speech, and you know, like they're egging on the protests in a way, while at the same time condemning violence and things of that nature. I think they're similar.
Is showing support to freedom of speech and protesting the same as like, hey, they stole the election?
Well, there's one key part of that you're leaving out, Fabian. While they're also
when they're saying the fascist dictator is coming in.
Well, yeah,
you know
and
I mean? Like, it's very
similar. Well, I was going to say that too, but also while they're simultaneously handicapping their first responders and their ability to respond correctly. Like we've already seen this wholesale. That's an added layer. Trump didn't go in there and be like, hey, let's handicap local PD from handing like January 6th.
I don't necessarily
actively doing that.
Hold on. Listen. This has happened within the last. Hold on. This has happened within the last 2 fucking days. Okay, the media gets fucking everything wrong. Okay, like I do not trust deeply knowing what Karen Bass did or didn't do, or whether or not and how she may or may not have hampered fucking the LAPD stuff. Like that is
her existing is hampering enough. That's the problem right now. She has proven
this is the problem. You're the exact same as the fucking left, man. It's like whoever I don't like that is against the things that I don't like is fucking the bad guy.
Nah. See, difference is I'm holding her accountable for her ineptitude. Her ineptitude is actually treasonous. That's the big point. It rises to the level of treason. I'm just holding her accountable.
Treason.
Yeah.
This is a new legal theory I've never heard before. Go ahead and explain, Gibbs. How does that work?
When you somehow listen, I got to give her credit. She bamboozled the people.
Much.
No, hold on. I've got to give her credit. She bamboozled her voters into thinking she was an intelligent enough individual to be able to be put in place for this job. And her ineptitude is so criminally bad. She ended up burning half of the city, burned down on her watch because of her DEI hiring practices. I mean, she literally has a commercial where she has the firefighter woman say, if your man is too big and he's in a fire, maybe he shouldn't be in that situation. Outrageous.
And that's treason.
Hold on. Then she
says he was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Doesn't matter. You know what I'm talking about. She depletes the water so they can't save it. It's just massive fires all over. Then she turns around and is hampering the police responses while simultaneously encouraging the protesters in conjunction with a foreign national president who's the same level of incitement that Trump did on January 6th. It is clear treason, and we should try for it to the fullest degree.
So, okay, before
America would be better.
Oh yeah, sure. Before we end here, because I think we're running down, but like I think we're coming to like consensus here, right? This is slightly. Oh, it's a different thing, but I wanted to ask Lactoid this, friend, about Obega Garcia, right? He's been brought back into the country, right? I have lots of things to say about that, but I'm going to refrain. I'm going to refrain from saying it now. We'll say it some other time. But I do have a question for you, friend.
Go ahead.
About the charges. The charges against some according to our Attorney General, smuggling. He was human trafficking people. I think she specifically used the word smuggling, but my understanding from her description, maybe I'm wrong, right? So that's why I'm asking you, right? Is that she's saying that he was part of as it was described even by the owner of this alleged business, a taxi service, in which he would take people from job site to job site. At least that's what he described it as, but maybe not. Maybe he was doing something else with them, but he was moving them across the country, right? And then they're being charged with this. Friend, please explain to me, how is that illegal, right? Taking undocumented immigrants, right, and moving them from point A to point B, even across state lines. Because, because I saw the Texas governor send individuals, right, send busloads of undocumented immigrants to New York and other places, other sanctuary cities. So, if you could explain that to me, it would be really helpful.
Yeah, so He was returned to the U.S., which I'm glad Trump did. I didn't like the fact that he wasn't doing that. I don't think the Supreme Court did order or could order him to negotiate with El Salvador to forcibly force him to bring them back. But I'm glad that he chose to do so. And when I saw the trafficking chart, or people were saying it was trafficking for a while, I obviously thought what we all think when it comes to that. That's not what the allegations are. The allegations is human smuggling, specifically moving illegal immigrants who my understanding is who consented to being moved.
Mm-hmm.
So assuming that he's not actually like trafficking people, I think this is like much less bad than trafficking people. If he's just human smuggling, right? Moving people around the country.
But
in terms of, is that a crime?
Yeah.
Apparently it's a crime. Apparently there is a difference between a state who's moving illegal immigrants who are taken into custody and designated in a specific area as to where they have to go, as opposed to, I guess, what Kilmar was doing was aiding them in avoiding enforcement, aiding them by essentially moving them around, evading
but
ICE,
Greyhound, then why doesn't Greyhound shut down? Because undocumented immigrants use Greyhound all the goddamn time to get across state lines. Like,
I'm assuming that if you could show that Greyhound
that must
intentionally
be why
moved.
Greyhound sucks so fucking
well,
bad.
Greyhound doesn't check IDs, right? Like Greyhound doesn't do any of that. They just, you got a ticket, right?
I think there's a
Greyhound
difference
doesn't
there.
even
We looked this
sweep
up.
their
We
buses, much
We
less
looked this up.
do
We
check
looked this up the
IDs.
other week, I think, on here, Prime, and it was 50-50. It depends on the franchise owner of Greyhound if they check IDs or not.
Oh, okay, well, I've never.
I also
I've been
think
on Greyhound.
We Googled that. I feel like we Googled
there's
that.
going to be a
this panel
difference
meeting.
too. There's going to be a
Talking about
difference
something
too between like a don't ask, don't tell kind of like mindset, or like, hey, we're just drive whoever, we don't check IDs, as opposed to I think what they're alleging that Kilmar did here, which is like that they are. Here's a very similar example. Okay.
Yeah.
It is a crime to knowingly hide a criminal in your house. So if you know this guy has committed a crime and you let them into your house and you hide them, you give them place, you give them solace.
Sure.
This is a crime. But if you just let somebody in your house and it turns out they're a criminal, then you're not in trouble.
Okay, all right. But like if a person has broken immigration, like has come into the country illegally, they're not a criminal, right? It's a civil.
It's still it's still a crime though. It's still a crime.
But hold on,
illegally.
But yeah, so what I'm asking you here is that but they're not criminals. They're not criminals. They just did a violation, not criminals. But if a person, like, let's say you're related.
Oh fuck! Promkai's just became a libertarian, chat. Like, he doesn't actually care whether or not someone broke the laws of the nation. He only cares about whether or not they're aggressive.
No. I'm just saying.
I had to convert you.
I'm just saying categorically, right? That's all. I'm making a descriptive statement here. But
libertarianism, descriptive, natural law philosophy.
Okay,
it doesn't matter whether or not they broke the law.
My God.
It matters whether or not they aggress or harmed another person.
Well,
I love it.
first of all, I've always been more of a social libertarian. In terms, that, right?
Yeah.
You already know that. You know that about me.
Sure.
I've always
Now
chipping
we
away
know.
at it.
That's
chat.
Now we know.
Chipping away, chat.
No, wait, hold on. Guys, come on. You know that, right? Like, I talked about, like, hey, like, I'm against drug law enforcement, and then you should be able to sleep before you want to between two consenting adults, whatever that arrangement looks like.
Those are moral opinions, right? But like, now you're saying they're not a criminal, even though they've broken laws because of a natural law philosophy.
I'm talking about civil.
I appreciate it.
Oh my God. Oh, okay. I'm not gonna let Scott bait me. On. Sorry, lactoid.
Hook, line, and sinker, my friend.
Lactoid.